Chapter 10, 29-inch, we purchased for a 9-year-old child, especially a little princess living in a fairy tale world. There was nothing strange about the girl on the cover, just like a mermaid. Naturally, she quickly accepted the methods of hatching dragon eggs. First we need to take off our clothes. With innocent eyes, Adley quickly imitated what her sister had just done and took off her princess dress and long socks. Even though she was only 9 years old, Adley had a perfectly adorable body, with a touch of childishness but delicate and smooth skin, as soft and tender as newly fallen snow. With her perfect proportions, slender and round fragrant shoulders, slender waist, and smooth soft tummy, when the gorgeous princess dress slowly floated down from her snowy white fingertips, even Princess Ain's heart couldn't help but beat faster. If my sister can do it, Adley can do it too. The little princess shyly reached out her small hand and straightened her chest. The beautiful and cute Xiao Qiao, like a budding flower, delicately and shyly stood on top of the silver giant egg. Compared to her older sister, young Adley's body was more sensitive. Just by touching it, her tender and vibrant lips involuntarily let out a soft moan. The tender and smooth tip of the strawberry started to show more pink. Then, like a spreading infection, it quickly spread all over Adley's small body. Sister, what is this so strange? Like Princess Ain, Adley also felt the burning and passionate dragon's spiritual energy rushing through her young body. Don't resist, Adley. That is a blessing, it's a hope. Ain looked at her cute-sounding sister with a complex expression in her eyes. As someone with experience, she knew how intoxicating that feeling was, but her body couldn't handle it anymore. Sister, I will do my best. Adley, just like Ain, possessed a quality of great determination and managed to endure. Soon, her expression became dazed. Waves of unfamiliar sensations rushed through her tender body. Reactions that shouldn't have appeared at her age emerged prematurely under the influence of the immense dragon's spiritual energy. Just like when they first met, Adley showed even greater magical talent than her older sister, but it didn't mean she could tolerate the dragon's spiritual energy washing over her. Whimper. In less than a minute, Adley's face turned bright red, her feet clenched tightly, and she looked like she was about to cry. Sister. Looking at those unknown watermarks, Adley suddenly became flustered. And what was that feeling just now? It was like being instantly shocked by countless electric currents, causing spasms from her fingertips to her toes. It's okay. Adley, you're growing up. Princess Ain truly didn't know what expression to show in this situation. It should have been a cause for celebration that her younger sister had greater magical talent, but to display it in this way was just too embarrassing. What happened today would definitely remain a secret, known only to the two of them. Now, she had to give her sister a lesson in personal hygiene, just like her mother did when she first had her period. Don't be scared, this is something that happens to girls as they grow up. Accompanying Adley, Ain gently cleaned her sister's body. 1 minute later, Adley's little face turned red once again. Her snow-white skin continuously flushed, and the sisters were surprisingly similar in terms of sensitivity. They were both easily moved and incredibly delicate and cute. It means that when they are in this situation, they easily fall down, and both sisters are not immune to this kind of thing. Sister. Feels strange. Feels good, but also scared. This is the first time Adley has experienced this, completely clueless about what is happening. She looks at her sister with teary eyes, but doesn't let go of the dragon egg. Yes, everyone has a first time. Sister is just like you. Ain gently takes care of her little sister, while deeply understanding why the dragon egg hatching ceremony requires such a big bath. So, the purpose of that bath is like this. After realizing the true purpose of the divine era relic she is protecting, Ain's cheeks turn red. The God Tower, which is considered extremely sacred in people's eyes, the Tower of Origin, the Tower of Observing the Stars, and the result is, this secret I really don't want the people of my own country to know. Whoa. In the girl's tender and pitiful cries, Adley quickly experiences the third, fourth, and fifth shocks. The large dragon's magical energy flowed around the little princess's body, constantly merging and exchanging their respective essences, giving and receiving at the same time. The continuous and adorable sounds lasted for about half an hour before finally coming to an end. "Sister, did I do well?" Adley lay in her sister's arms, wrapped only in a towel, looking at Princess Ayn with a confused expression. After 30 consecutive intense impacts, Adley's tiny body almost merged with the dragon's magical energy, making her look incredibly cute and captivating, to the point of being irresistible. The smooth, tender, and fragrant skin was as delicate as freshly peeled bamboo shoots. Even the slightest movement would make your heart skip a beat. 2 little feet, pearly white with adorable pearl-like toenails, just like a string of beads. It was as smooth as gelatin, with a sweet, powdery fragrance. So gentle, soft, and indescribably marvelous. The enchanting, misty eyes resembled a state of half-sleep, neither awake nor asleep, neither intoxicated nor sober. Her clothes faded away, revealing her soft and pale waist and tender and smooth breasts. Together with her innocent and sweet voice, filled with both sweetness and sorrow, she sang with restraint and grace, causing even Princess Ayn to blush and feel her heart race. Her body was gentle, even her sobbing voice was gentle. The bending of her snow-white and tender legs, the trembling of her slender body, and the sobbing sound of her young voice. Pafu, Pafu. Whether it was an illusion or not, Princess Ayn heard a voice filled with pleasure and satisfaction. The voice seemed to come from inside the dragon egg. It seemed that the sacred dragon egg was very satisfied with Adley's hatching process. Lasting for 30 minutes, twice as long as Ayn, it was the best proof. Chapter 10. 30-inch, we purchase sister. How much longer until the baby hatches? After recovering slightly from her weak and weary state, Adley fearlessly touched the silver dragon egg with her fingertips. Awu! A cute and captivating sound came out of the little princess's cherry lips. Her little feet, so soft and tender, trembled with an irresistible charm. Adley, our words alone may not be enough. Ayn struggled to take her sister away from the edge of the dragon egg. According to the records in the book, the correct method of hatching dragon eggs, even during the divine era, it was necessary to gather at least 100 pure and innocent maidens with special bloodlines, preferably from different races, to have a hope of hatching the weakest white dragon egg. This remnant from the divine era was built for that purpose, and even now, millions of years later, it still stands tall upon the earth. The buildings on the surface that were built at the same time as this remnant from the divine era have all been eroded by time and are almost completely gone. After Princess Ayn learned the truth about the relic she was protecting, she understood even more the importance of the dragon clan to this tower. It is the only place capable of hatching the dragon eggs that have lost their mothers. She even wondered if the dragon clan had not completely perished and that one day they would return to this land, and this hatching tower would also experience a rebirth. How could this happen? Is my love not enough? I will work even harder to help. It must be said that the two sisters were surprisingly similar in many ways, and Adley also took the responsibility for the unsuccessful hatching of the dragon egg upon herself. She struggled to stand up, looking like she was going to attempt hatching the egg again. It's not your fault. We did our best. But this is a dragon egg. Ayn still didn't say it, even to her closest sister. She kept the secret. This dragon egg doesn't belong to this world, and what hatches from it won't be just any baby dragon, but a beautiful, divine, and majestic silver dragon. The only secret she won't tell anyone, not even her sister Adley. Because it's her promise with the silver dragon. To hatch a dragon egg, we alone are not enough. Ayn had to accept the reality. Whether it's her or Adley, who has even greater talent than her, they can't hatch this sacred silver dragon egg, even if they take turns. According to the instructions in The Proper Way to Hatch a Dragon Egg, a real female dragon needs to continuously use her body heat and love for a non-stop period of 24 hours to complete this difficult process. And the time she and Adley combined can't even reach an hour, and that's with the assumption that Adley's Divine Era bloodline is much better than hers. To ensure the continuous hatching process for 24 hours, you would need at least 48 girls with the same Divine Era bloodline as Adley. This is the most exceptional Divine Era bloodline on this continent, and you won't even find a second one, let alone 48. If it were her, it would probably take hundreds of people to carry out this project. But on this continent, there are only 2 pure and Divine Era bloodline girls, them alone. This is not the Divine Era. Where can we find so many pure girls with Divine Era bloodline to help with hatching? Even if we add up the remaining Divine Era bloodlines from the other continents, it still won't be enough to meet this requirement. So, there is only one solution left. Adley, do you want to hatch this egg? Adley's eyes gradually became determined, showing a willpower that would never give up no matter what challenges they face. Adley really loves this egg. Setting aside their beloved teddy bear, Adley's eyes sparkled with stars. It was a love that couldn't be hidden, unique to children with their focus and wild imagination. For Adley, who grew up with fairy tales, the appearance of this dragon egg was like a dream. It's a dragon. It's a real giant dragon egg. Legend has it that since the Divine Era, there hasn't been a mysterious and powerful giant dragon like this, the protagonist of countless fairy tales. A dragon that kidnaps princesses and sets traps to make heroes suffer. The dragon that guides heroes and saves the world. A majestic dragon that soars freely in the sky. Regardless of which fairy tale, the presence of a dragon is overwhelming, even overshadowing the original protagonists of the story. Humans have many guesses about life they don't understand. Adley has always been interested in the stories of dragons, but there aren't many books about real dragons in the kingdom's library. The only book is the one Ayn opened, titled The Correct Method for Hatching Dragon Eggs. Adley wanted to open this book with a label saying it's forbidden for people under the age of 18 to read, but she has never succeeded. Even Ayn, after their parents fought in the final battle and gained complete control of the Divine Era's heritage, only then had the ability to open this book. The 2 sisters are still incredibly similar in this aspect. Well, we have to work hard then. Ayn stroked her younger sister's head, and the soft touch of her fingertips made her gaze become even gentler. Some things must be faced. With their father and mother gone, and the kingdom in turmoil, it's time to step up. If, on a night where they saw shooting stars streak across the sky, Ayn still had doubts and felt lost about the future, now she is filled with courage and ready to face all difficulties and dangers. Never give up until the final moment. Until the very end, we will never sacrifice easily. Now, there's nothing to be afraid of. Forbidden spell, that kind of thing doesn't exist, but let others misunderstand it. What exists here is something even more powerful and precious than a forbidden spell. The Empire's proud black technology, which can break through even the world barrier and come from the sky to this land, is nothing more than a child's plaything in front of the sacred silver dragon. The true new era is right here, right in front of her. As long as this dragon egg can be hatched, this world will definitely embrace a brand new dawn. Ayn has a lot of things she wants to say to the sacred silver dragon, a lot of knowledge she wants to learn, and all of this depends on hatching this sacred dragon egg. She is willing to pay any price for this goal. Even if we have to gather all the power in the country, we will not hesitate. Adley, from now on, you are the very first princess of the kingdom. I will become the queen. Chapter 1031. We purchased, holding her little sister in her arms. Ayn began to walk towards the spiral staircase of the tall tower. With each step, her eyes became more determined, and her grip on her sister's hand became stronger. From the moment she made the decision, Princess Ayn, who still had a little bit of a girlish nature, disappeared, praying to the stars for a miracle. The stars responded to her prayer, and she knew she had to make a change. Everything was for the great and sacred silver dragon. The automated staircase carried the two sisters towards the first floor of the tower. Soon, they reached the first floor of this ancient ruin. Ain held her sister's hand and entered the long-unused dressing room. She dressed her little sister Adley in a brand-new white princess gown, while Ain herself chose a long-unused formal dress, resembling a wedding gown with golden rose accents on the hem. This set of Western-style dresses was personally sewn by her mother, a magical dress prepared as one of the gifts for her wedding. It automatically fits her body and has a 3-level defense barrier, which can defend against most arrows and long-range attacks. Originally, this dress was intended to be worn on her wedding day. Her mother had once said with a smile, "When you can wear this dress, you will be the most beautiful bride in the world." "I'm sorry, mother. I have disappointed you. I haven't been able to get married." Princess Ain, who was only 14 years old, looked slightly melancholic as she gazed at her rose dress. The intertwining of gold and red was supposed to be the most splendid colors in the world, but now it carried a hint of sadness. Now, what she has to do is more important than getting married. Wearing this bridal gift represents her determination. "Adley, you don't need to say anything later. As long as you stay the way you are now, that's enough." Comforting her slightly nervous younger sister in a soft voice, Ain tidied her hair and, with a proud gaze, took the initiative to open the long-closed gates of the Divine Era Tower. The sealed Divine Era Tower was originally the final defense for the two sisters. Even if the Emperor's first magic army legion attacked the royal city, they could protect their last bit of dignity. But now, the fortress gate was opened by Ain herself. Since a moment ago, she had been sending out some messages as the Divine Era Tower Guardian.
Boom.
In front of the slowly opening tower gate, the sisters were greeted by a mass of nobles and royalty kneeling on the ground. Duke Parbad, the last duke with the kingdom's intact territory. Count Gasper, the controller of the kingdom's commercial lifeline. Viscount Theon, the commander of the royal city's guard. All of the kingdom's major nobles and representatives of the royalty were almost all gathered here. It was these people who recently betrayed Princess Ain and handed over the royal city to the First Imperial Magic Army Legion. Among them, Duke Parbad, the representative of the royalty, was Princess Ain and Adley's uncle according to generation. His opinion is basically the same as the remaining royals' opinion. He is the spokesperson of the royal faction. If Princess Ain and Adley were captured by the Empire, he would be theoretical first heir to the kingdom. Count Gasper represents the merchant faction. The cunning merchants, who are skilled at sensing the wind direction, had already noticed the signs of war. As soon as the battle between the Empire's First Magic Army Legion and the Royal Knights ended, they couldn't wait to make their move. Finally, Viscount Theon, the elite of the noble faction, the youngest and most promising knight of the Empire, said to be only a step away from becoming a hero-ranked individual. He represents the military noble class. Representatives of the royal family, merchants, and nobles, the three major powers of the kingdom, all knelt down before Ain and Adley as they walked out of the high tower. All of them had incredibly pale faces. No one could have expected that the kingdom, which appeared to be on the verge of defeat in everyone's eyes, still held such a terrifying trump card. That tower, which had stood in the heart of the royal city since the Divine Era, unexpectedly possessed such destructive power. In history, there was no record of the heritage of the Divine Era having such power. However, in history, the kingdom had never encountered such a desperate situation before. They were under attack, and even the previous king and queen, who were of the Divine Era bloodline, died in battle. Now, everyone is filled with fear. Whether it's Duke Parbad, the representative of the royal family, or Count Gasper, the representative of the merchants, or Viscount Theon, the representative of the nobles, they all came to the tower immediately to seek forgiveness after receiving Princess Adley's command. "Your Highness, please forgive my rudeness. We were too ignorant of the power of the Divine Era bloodline." Duke Parbad, who is almost 60 years old, suddenly had half of his hair turn white overnight. His once composed figure became trembling and unsteady. As a member of the royal family, he didn't awaken the power of the Divine Era bloodline. In the kingdom's laws, awakening the Divine Era bloodline was the highest privilege. No king had ever ruled without awakening the power of the Divine Era bloodline. The current first emperor of the empire was actually a genius who separated from the royal family. That member of the royal family was a rare and exceptional knight genius. His strength was even on par with the awakeners of the Divine Era bloodline of that generation. But because he didn't awaken the power of the Divine Era bloodline, he couldn't become the king of the kingdom. After defeating the king of that era, the talented knight fled with some loyal nobles and royals and established the present empire. Compared to the kingdom that followed ancient traditions, the empire from the very beginning made it clear that Divine Era bloodline was not the first condition for inheriting the country. At the same time, the empire vigorously developed advanced technology and eventually gave birth to the present magic armor system. After several border conflicts, the combat power of the magic armor shocked the entire continent and made the empire overconfident. It boldly launched an invasion of the kingdom. Equipped with the new generation of magic armor, the empire's first magic army legion, led by 3 titled knights, broke through all the kingdom's defenses in less than half a month, piercing the heart of the kingdom, the capital. The events that followed were witnessed by everyone here as part of history. Nuclear explosion. This was the almost unanimous judgment of both the kingdom and the empire, the only reasonable explanation found in the piles of history. The empire's first magic army legion, along with the entire empire with only 3 titled knights among its 9 members, instantly turned to ashes and dust. The person responsible for causing this tragedy and wiping out the first magic army legion from the map was undoubtedly the girl in the golden red dress, overlooking everyone from a high position. Princess Ayn, the first princess of the kingdom, renowned as a genius in Divine Era magic. Guardian of the kingdom's Divine Era heritage. "You have betrayed the country, betrayed me," said Ayn, making everyone shiver. Could it be that princess is about to initiate a bloody purge? Chapter 1032 We purchased, but I forgive you. With a sudden turn of events, just when they thought all hope was lost, a new opportunity presented itself. This perfectly described the feelings of the 3 representatives at that moment. Life has its ups and downs, and it's truly thrilling. Prior to receiving Princess Ayn's command to go to the tower, they had all left farewell letters. This is the price of betrayal. They have committed a huge mistake. Who could have imagined that the princess, who is only 14 years old in people's eyes, would actually possess the true power of the Divine Era heritage? The user of the forbidden spell called Nuclear Explosion was the most powerful warlock in the Divine Era, who destroyed the first magic army legion of the empire. Princess Ayn, who came out of the high tower, was covered in countless mysterious auras. From the moment the first magic army legion of the empire was obliterated by the forbidden spell, Nuclear Explosion, Princess Ayn ceased to be just a talented warlock of the Divine Era bloodline in people's eyes. She leaped to become the top forbidden magic user on this continent. Even in the Divine Era period, a mage who could cast forbidden spells alone, even with the power of Divine Era heritage, could become a renowned superpower throughout the entire continent. Not to mention, in the modern era after the decline of the magic tide, forbidden spell users are absolute destructive weapons. As long as the Divine Era heritage still stands, even the Empire would not dare to make any reckless moves. In fact, the Imperial spies they had been in contact with had brought news of peace talks. This war, since the complete annihilation of the first magic army legion of the Empire, has basically come to an end. No one wanted to face the forbidden spell called Nuclear Explosion, which left nothing but ashes, and the first magic army legion poured cold water on everyone. Even during the Divine Era, the Nuclear Explosion forbidden spell, which only had incomplete experimental records, appeared and made everyone feel deep fear from the bottom of their hearts. The central part of the nuclear blast completely melted the earth, destroying everything within the range of the shockwave, and the hot wind even blew onto the walls of the royal city, hundreds of kilometers away. If this scene had occurred not in the wilderness, but in a city of a certain country, or even in the capital, it would not have been just the complete annihilation of a few thousand soldiers from the Empire's first magic army legion. The inevitable outcome was that millions of people, along with the entire city, turned to ash and smoke. It was not only General Ryder, the leader of the Empire's army, who broke into a cold sweat after receiving the data report on the nuclear blast. Anyone who saw this report would doubt their own eyes. Even during the Divine Era, there wasn't such an exaggerated forbidden spell, right? Isn't this something that should only exist in fantasy magic novels? However, this is real. The central area where the nuclear blast occurred is still inaccessible. Just the data collected from the areas devastated by the shockwave has already made countless scholars tremble in fear and doubt their testing tools. The power of a nuclear blast is incredibly terrifying. When Princess Ayn walked out of the Divine Era Tower, holding Adley's hand, her identity had already changed drastically from her past. No one doubted whether she could inherit the country. As a rare forbidden spellcaster even in the Divine Era, her nuclear explosion forbidden spell had made her the supreme ruler of this continent. People could only marvel at how extraordinary the bloodline of the Divine Era was. The last intact relic of the Divine Era on the continent could truly be called the God Tower miracle. The current Princess Ayn only needed one sentence to determine the life and death of everyone here. After all, whether it was Duke Parbad from the royal family, Count Gasper from the merchant class, or Viscount Shira from the nobles, they all made the same choice. The fact proved that they were terribly wrong. I know you are not bad people. I forgive you, but that doesn't mean I will pardon the mistakes you have made. After meeting the divine silver dragon, Princess Ayn's view expanded from just the kingdom to the endless night sky above. Like all the Divine Era bloodline warlocks who dedicate their lives to the Divine Era Tower, she had been fascinated by the starry sky for a long time. Compared to the brief lives of humans, the mysteries contained within the stars were infinite. Generation after generation, the Divine Era bloodline warlocks followed the ancient tradition, and many of them, even after inheriting the title of Guardian, never set foot outside this continent's tallest building. For them, observing the stars in the sky and depicting the patterns of the night sky were more charming than anything else in this world. Throughout their lives, they immersed themselves in the starry sky. Many of them never married. The books filled with celestial records in the library tower were proof of their existence. Observing the stars, understanding them, and dreaming of a path to the world of the stars. People bound by the atmosphere of the earth desire wings more than anything else, wings that can take them out of this world and into the infinite and vast starry sky. Now, she has finally found her own wings and can fly freely, carrying her towards a broader world. Compared to her predecessors, Ayn is fortunate because she has finally found that opportunity, the key that can change the world. For this wish, for the promise with the holy silver dragon, she was willing to forgive her betrayed loved ones, merchants, and nobles at any cost, as it was only the beginning of the plan. I am going to be crowned as king, Ayn said, word by word, expressing his decision. That is only natural, Your Majesty, our queen, Duke Parbad, representing the conservative faction of the royal family, was the first to kneel before Ayn, offering his loyalty. As our proud queen, possessing such power, he said sincerely. These words came from the heart. The strong are respected. That is an eternal truth. The empire was able to be established and attracted the allegiance of many branches of the royal family initially because the emperor, who was an unparalleled genius, defeated the king who had inherited the bloodline of the Divine Era. We will definitely hold the grandest coronation ceremony on the continent, and all expenses will be covered by our merchant alliance. Count Gasper wiped his sweat while wearing a flattering smile. There is nothing in this world that money can't solve, and if there is, it means we don't have enough money. Facing Princess Ayn, who possesses the forbidden spell of nuclear explosion, soon to be our queen, It is essential for us merchants to minimize losses. This is the way for us to survive. Under your radiance, the kingdom will enter a whole new era. All the nobles will support you. Our great queen, Viscount Theon's eyes were filled with fanaticism. As the most outstanding knight of the noble faction, he admired strong individuals more than anyone else. Now, Ein truly became the strongest on the continent. I will rebuild the Empire's royal knights. The new royal knight order shall be called the Sacred Silver Dragon Knights. Chapter 1033 We purchased the Sacred Silver Dragon Knight Order. Shira looked at Princess Ein, who was about to become queen, with confusion. Whether it's a kingdom or an empire, it is not customary to add a prefix to knight orders. The Empire's legions are named in a straightforward manner, such as the 1st Magic Army Legion, the 2nd Magic Army Legion, the 1st Infantry Corps, and the 2nd Infantry Corps. The knight orders in the kingdom are similar, with the Royal Knight Order being the strongest in the kingdom. Why would Princess Ein suddenly change the naming tradition of knight orders and establish a brand new Sacred Silver Dragon Knight Order? Please let me be the first to join this new Royal Knight Order. Shira temporarily put aside the strange naming and eagerly volunteered to be the first to sign up. With his strength as a nearly hero-ranked knight, joining this new knight order would undoubtedly lead to important roles. This is also a crucial move for the noble faction. I'm sorry, but that won't be possible. Princess Ein sadly shook her head as she looked at Viscount Shira, who is praised as the top talented knight among the nobles. It's not about strength. After the Emperor's 1st Magic Army Legion wiped out the king and queen along with the Royal Knight Corps, Viscount Shira became one of the top experts in the kingdom. If they were to rebuild the Royal Knight Corps normally, Viscount Shira would definitely have a place both from a political and strength standpoint. However, the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Corps she is about to establish is not your usual Knight Corps. No, this can't be. Viscount Shira's face showed a stunned expression, unable to believe her ears. It's not a problem even if I'm not the captain or the leader. I can join as a regular knight. After a few seconds of thinking, Viscount Shira thought it might be a problem with her noble representative status. She truly wanted to join this Holy Silver Dragon Knight Corps, unrelated to the political games behind it. She genuinely wanted to fight for the queen. I'm sorry, it's not about strength or status, but about gender. Princess Ein shook her head, indicating her powerlessness. Gender issue? Whether it was Viscount Shira, Duke Parbad, or Count Gasper, they all had a shocked expression on their faces. That's right, the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Corps only recruits girls under the age of 18 from the Royal Knight Corps. Except for the royal family with Divine Era bloodline, everyone else must be pure young girls. In other words, this is a group of young female knights. Ein bit her lip, not wanting to use this method unless absolutely necessary. Is this considered deceiving the world? No. She didn't lie, although the goal of creating the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order was actually to hatch a sacred silver dragon egg. But the goal of forming the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order is real, and this Knight Order will become the kingdom's strongest Knight Order. She had already felt it. Her physical and mental strength had increased after exchanging vital energy with the Silver Dragon Egg. It was a miracle of life. And her younger sister, Adley, was even more remarkable. Her benefits from the Silver Dragon Egg were greater, lasting twice as long. By extrapolating, the act of hatching the dragon egg itself has incredible miraculous effects, like enhancing innate abilities. Truly fitting for a sacred giant dragon from the stars. Merely getting close to the dragon egg and exchanging vital energy has yielded such great rewards. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that this egg is the spark of revolution for this world. So, it is necessary to form a team to hatch eggs. The Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order was established for this purpose. The girls' Knight Orders? Duke Parbad's beard went crooked. Even in the history of the Divine Era, there was no such rebellious record. A group of girls under the age of 18, how can they have the ability to form a Knight Order? Isn't this just child's play? Only pure girls under the age of 18 are eligible. Count Gasper instinctively began to assess Princess Ein's decision from a merchant's perspective and quickly discovered a lot of business opportunities. Is it limited to the kingdom? No, it is not limited to the kingdom's women. As long as they are under the age of 18, have purity, and, well, not ugly, they can participate. Based on her own and Adley's experience, as well as the records on the cover and back cover of the book, The Correct Way to Hatch Dragon Eggs, Princess Ein could easily infer the criteria for selecting people to hatch the eggs. It doesn't matter if they're not part of the human race. As long as they meet the requirements, whether they are land-dwelling or from the sea, everyone is eligible. From the back cover of that book, it's better to say that it's good to gather beautiful girls from different races. The dragon race is indeed a very magical race. Why? This is unrealistic. These are all girls who are not even 18 years old. How can they have any combat power? Viscount Shira couldn't help but shout loudly. The selection criteria for this so-called Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order is simply insulting to the path of knighthood he inherited. I am also not yet 18 years old. Do you think I have no combat power? Princess Ein looked coldly at the frustrated Viscount Shira. No, absolutely not. Viscount Shira, whose mind was overheating, finally remembered that the princess in front of him had recently used the nuclear explosion forbidden spell to annihilate the Empire's first magic army legion. The strongest mage in the continent, of the divine era, forbidden spells. This year, she is only 14 years old. But, princess, you are an exception among exceptions. How could those weak and powerless girls compare to a princess with a divine-era bloodline? Exactly. It's absurd to gather a group of girls under 18 years old to form a knight order. Except for Count Gasper, who had hidden thoughts, both Duke Parbad from the royal faction and Viscount Shira from the noble faction thought Ein's decision was hasty. So, what if I say that I have a way to let these girls obtain some of the divine era's power? Watching Duke Parbad and Viscount Shira vehemently opposing, Ein finally dropped the biggest bomb.
What?
This is impossible. Duke Parbad shouted in astonishment. Impossible? The power of the divine era has long ago. Viscount Shira also yelled. In their understanding, the power system of the divine era had already collapsed. Towards the end of the divine era, people discovered that the magic tide started to decline. They used every means, even breaking taboos, but couldn't change this trend. Now, Princess Ein was actually saying she wanted to rebuild the Knight Order of the divine era. Can this be possible? Can this be possible? Why not? Princess Ein smiled and extended her snow-white hand, pointing towards the starry sky, which appeared as a towering castle to others. The power of miracles has awakened. The gasps of Duke Parbad and Viscount Shira suddenly became urgent. Their gazes towards the divine era tower became intensely passionate. Chapter 1034 We Purchase the Power of the Divine Era was believed to be impossible to reappear in this era, like a legendary power. It is said that during that ancient era, the number of people who reached the hero rank on this continent once approached nearly 4 digits. In the kingdom of the Divine Era's knights, there were always over 100 hero-ranked knights. Furthermore, during the final battle of the Divine Era, a legend was born that symbolized ultimate power in this world. Although it was only a brief moment, this world truly experienced the power of a legend. It was considered the last hope of the Divine Era, a miracle that shone like a fading light before the complete decline of the magic tide. In modern times, there are not even 100 hero-ranked experts, let alone over 100. There are only around a dozen or 20 in the entire continent, most of whom are descendants of the Divine Era bloodline. Similar to the first emperor of the Empire, who was an unparalleled genius, even though they couldn't truly awaken the bloodline of the Divine Era, the blood of the Divine Era descendants still possessed extraordinary power. The hero-ranked experts in the entire continent can mostly trace their origins back to a figure from the Divine Era. The power of bloodline that was nurtured during the peak of the magic tide, like ancient heroes in the form of gods, was the most prosperous and flourishing era of this world. The people of that era built one magnificent miracle after another, and some of them still operate according to unfathomable rules, even millions of years later. Among the most famous and perfect divine era structures on this continent is the Tower of the Gods behind Princess Ain at this moment. If there is a place in this world where humans who have lost their divine era powers can awaken the power of their ancestors again, without a doubt, it is here. This divine era tower that has stood in the center of the royal city for millions of years without falling. Your Highness, is what you're saying true? Parbad's wrinkled face was about to split open, with some kind of fanatic ambition seeking revenge in this aging body. For the traditionalists who advocate monarchy, regaining the power of the divine era is something that everyone dreams of. Can the power of the divine era really be revived? Viscount Shira's breathing became heavy. Among the newly risen aristocrats who worship power, there is also no one who would refuse the power from the divine era. That power, like a hero from a myth, was considered an impossible fantasy until the nuclear explosion forbidden spell appeared. But now, Princess Ain tells them that she will rebuild the kingdom's first royal knight order and name the newly formed knight order the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order. This Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order is limited to pure young girls under the age of 18, regardless of their race or background, and it will restore the glorious power of the divine era. Yes, we will surely make this miracle happen. I don't need to deceive you. This is the dawn of our era. Princess Ain looked firmly at the representatives from 3 different powers. From now on, this news will probably spread across the continent quickly. People may doubt if it's true, but once the effect of the silver dragon egg is proven, it will cause a huge wave throughout the entire continent. The power of the divine era is something even the Empire would never give up on. Other northern kingdoms will also send people over. The newly established Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order will definitely include a large number of people from other countries. This is her goal. In order to hatch the dragon egg, she needs to gather the power of the entire continent. If the power of this continent is not enough, then she must spread this news to other continents as well. She couldn't easily gather hundreds of young girls with pure bloodlines, like in the correct method for hatching dragon eggs. But it doesn't matter. The Holy Silver Dragon Egg she wants to hatch has a special power that is not recorded in that book. If we don't have a divine era bloodline, then we'll create it ourselves. If there are not enough young girls in this country, then let other countries also help. The Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order was established for this purpose, and its mission is much greater than anything in this country. I will go back and inform all the branches of the royal family. Duke Parbad stood up straight, and his quick and steady pace was hard to imagine for a man in his 60s. I have several nieces who meet the requirements. I will notify them to come to the capital. Why am I not? Viscount Shira looked disappointed. Why doesn't this world have a magic potion that can make you younger while changing gender at the same time? If there is one, even if it's a poisonous potion that will decrease his own lifespan, he would drink it without hesitation. The power of the divine era, that is the power that everyone in this world dreams of. Even the first emperor of the empire, who is touted as the strongest knight since the divine era, would definitely make the same choice if given the opportunity. For this world that once experienced the glorious divine era, the magic and bloodline power born in that era are the cornerstone of civilization. Even the magic armor that the Empire is currently studying and building is based on the basic principles that were developed at the end of the divine era. After the representatives of the monarchy and the nobility hurriedly left, Count Gaspar, the representative of the merchants, stayed behind, smiling with flattery as he looked at Princess Ain in front of him. Your Majesty, if we don't consider race or background, then nationality should not be a problem either. This is the great opportunity that Viscount Gaspar discovered. Whether for the kingdom or for this continent, the yet-to-be-established Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order will change history. As a merchant, he sensed an unprecedented opportunity in it. Yes, even girls from the Empire, other countries, or even other continents would be fine. As long as I pass the assessment of the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order, I will unlock the power of the relic. Princess Ein looked at Count Gasper with a meaningful gaze. It seemed that the merchant had the most sensitive nose and quickly smelled the scent of opportunity.
Oh, oh, oh.
After confirming that Princess Ein's recruitment order truly had no restrictions on nationality, race, or background, Count Gasper's face smiled like a blooming flower. Now, he had to join forces with colleagues from various countries because this time the cake was really too big. No individual business association could handle it. He could already imagine that, starting from now, the pure and beautiful girl under the age of 18 would become the most sought-after commodity on this continent, and even more than that. Chapter 1035-inch. We purchased, however, forcing it is not allowed, otherwise it won't pass the assessment of the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order. Princess Ein felt sorry for what she had to do next. It's likely that girls on this continent who meet the conditions for hatching will be drawn in. No one can resist the temptation of the divine era's power. It's very regretful, but sacrifices must be made for the new era of this world. As the Queen of the Kingdom, she was already mentally prepared to be called countless names in the future. So, what are the requirements for the test? Count Gasper calculated the interests involved and quickly found one profitable route after another. The power of the divine era, promised by the newly emerged and only forbidden spellcaster on the continent, in itself was worth a fortune. In order to gain the power of the divine era, all the girls who meet the conditions will have to come here, whether they want to or not. Just look at the behavior of Duke Parbad and Viscount Shira earlier. Even Duke Parbad, who is of noble rank, and Viscount Shira, who is a quasi-hero-ranked knight, couldn't control themselves, let alone others. Moreover, for those underage girls who meet these conditions, this is not a bad thing. Even if they were reluctant at first, their fathers, mothers, and relatives will make them come here regardless. The royal and noble part is off limits for us merchants, but as for the rest, the common-born women and the non-human races not under any country's jurisdiction, they are fair game. The potential and opportunities to be gained here are enormous. Just imagine, Count Gasper would feel a rush of excitement. This yet-to-be-established Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order is destined to become a battleground for countless forces. Soon you will know, Ein said, looking at the tall tower behind him. Once this plan starts, no one can stop it, including herself. Just as Princess Ein expected, she was going to form the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order, and the news about this order reclaiming the power of the divine era spread throughout the continent in just a few days, with a tendency to expand beyond the continent. The impact of this news was even greater than Princess Ein's coronation ceremony, causing a stir in all the countries of the continent. The royal family, nobles, and merchants of the kingdom rushed to send their eligible young girls to the capital city, waiting for the upcoming assessment of the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order. At this moment, General Ryder, the highest commander of the invading war from the Empire, looked at the newly crowned Queen Ein with a strange expression. Queen Ein, are you really determined to do this? Due to the complicated relationship between the Empire and the Kingdom, General Ryder was actually Duke Parbad's cousin and Ein's elder. The war between the Empire and the Kingdom never affected the common people, because the royal families on both sides are actually one family. The only difference is that the Emperor of the Empire pursues black technology of the new era, while the Kingdom has always adhered to tradition for millions of years. In the eyes of the Empire, the royal family of the Kingdom is like ancient relics that refuse to change, while in the eyes of the Kingdom, the Empire is a rebellious group who goes against tradition. But even so, the royal families on both sides continue to intermarry in order to maintain the power of their bloodline. This is a unique phenomenon in this world. Yes, I will establish a brand new knight order called the Divine Era. No one can stop me. With a sacred silver dragon as her backing, Ein has the courage to face the whole world. In order to fulfill her promise with the silver dragon, she didn't hesitate to lie to the entire world. However, as long as everyone believes that this lie is true, then it is no longer a lie. Just like how she was believed to have casted a forbidden spell that caused a nuclear explosion, the not-yet-established Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order is destined to bring about change in this world. Oh, you've really grown up, Ein. Ryder looked at Princess Ein. No. Now she's the queen, with overwhelming courage. There was a time when the little girl had grown to a level that even the vast empire feared. The title of Divine Era Forbidden Spellcaster, the ruler of the nuclear explosion forbidden spell, has become Queen Ein's exclusive title. People now call the new ruler of the kingdom Nuclear Blast Queen. Because of her presence, the 3 major legions of the Empire have completely retreated to their original borders, and there will be no invasion plans for a long time. Her existence represents the unimaginable ultimate power of this era. With such power, one can truly do whatever they want. If that nuclear explosion forbidden spell could be unleashed outside the kingdom, even the Empire would be powerless. The strategic deterrence of this power is truly terrifying. So, what exactly is the assessment for the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order? The main information General Ryder needed to know when he rushed overnight to negotiate with Queen Ein. The power of the Divine Era. The Empire cannot resist this temptation. That is, the power called love. Ein had a melancholy expression on her face. Only as a last resort, I really don't want to use this method. My sister said it's love. With love, we can gain strength. Adley flipped through the book, The Correct Way to Hatch Dragon Eggs, while secretly telling Count Gasper, who had found himself in a sneaky way. Love. Count Gasper sweated profusely, never expecting that love would be the key to passing the assessment. How should they cultivate it? Would it be better to choose young ones with naturally gentle personalities? We need love, lots and lots of love. Adley also worried about how to have more love. She didn't understand herself how to love the egg more. It was a mysterious field for her, still being young. Gasper, do you have any books that are restricted to adults like this one? After thinking for a while, Adley found the only clue. Sister said that the key to hatching dragon eggs is found in this book. Books that are restricted to those over 18? I have them here. Count Gasper, the kingdom's top merchant, had all kinds of goods, including books that minors are not allowed to read. After all, it is one of the needs of humans. As a merchant, as long as he can make money, he will sell anything. Restricted books are just a piece of cake. However, when he saw the cover of the book in Adley's hands, he suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. Wait, is the princess asking for a book of the same level as this one? It has to be as good-looking as this book. Adley looked at Count Gasper with an innocent smile. This. Chapter 1036-inch, we purchased, This is the original book from the Divine Era. Gasper sweat profusely as he carefully observed the cover of Princess Adley's book. Big mistake, a really big mistake. Never in a million years would anyone have thought that the book Princess Adley casually pulled out would be a priceless original from the Divine Era. Any book that has survived from the Divine Era until now is rare, and considering the artistic value of the cover, it is a masterpiece even in the Divine Era's art peak. The lines, composition, and colors in this book make the adult books in his trade guild look like child's doodles in comparison. Truly, the oldest royal family continued from the Divine Era. Even the educational books for the princess are such precious treasures. Don't you have it? Adley appeared extremely disappointed. Books symbolize knowledge. Inside books, there are countless answers to questions. The book is the embodiment of wisdom. Sister Ein always tells her so, and recommends many books for her to read. This book was also brought out by Sister Ein. No. How could it not be there? As a merchant, Gasper felt that his reputation was facing the biggest crisis ever. Don't underestimate the importance of fulfilling Princess Adley's desire to read a book. If this opportunity is missed, there may not be a second chance in this lifetime. To be associated with Princess Ein, who has been hailed as the Nuclear Blast Queen, is an opportunity that many great merchants on the continent dream of. If he didn't regularly offer rare candies as tribute to Princess Adley, He would never have the opportunity to be part of this rare chance. He is simply a representative elected by the kingdom's merchant association. There are several influential merchants within the kingdom who are more powerful than him. If he dares to say no here, it would be the end of his career. How could it be possible to not have it? It's just an 18 forbidden book from the Divine Era, and it's the highest level of artistic masterpiece. As a merchant, one must never utter the words no for any item that exists in this world. I'll bring it tomorrow. Gasper wiped his sweat while quickly searching his mind for relevant information. I want to draw very beautiful pictures, like the ones with many little girls. Adley innocently showed Gasper the cover of The Correct Way to Hatch Dragon Eggs. The colorful and lively images of pure and innocent girls made Gasper feel even more pressure. This art style is definitely one of the best masters, even during the Divine Era. It's going to be a big expense. There's no choice. This is the request of Nuclear Blast Queen's sister, Princess Adley, the kingdom's first heir. He had no right to say no. On the other side, Ein and General Ryder signed a series of post-war treaties. The Empire completely gave up all the benefits of this war, fully withdrew their troops from the kingdom, and actively compensated for the kingdom's losses, without mentioning the complete destruction of the Empire's first magic army legion. This is the deterrent power of nuclear explosions. Even though the Empire's main magic armored legion is still intact, with only the loss of their elite first magic army legion and the second and third legions with the most mass-produced machines waiting on the border. However, the war has already come to an end. From this perspective, it can be said that the kingdom won the war and forced the Empire to sign an unfair treaty, which can be called humiliating. After possessing the ultimate weapon of nuclear explosion, as long as Ein remains in power, it seems unlikely that the Empire will be able to launch a second invasion in their lifetime, unable to solve this problem. The era ultimately belongs to you young people, said General Ryder, who personally signed a series of treaties that can be called a shame for the Empire, anticipating the arrival of a new era. The revival of the forbidden spell of the Divine Era. The establishment of the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order. The widespread use of the Empire's magic armor. All of this made him, who had been on the battlefield for most of his life, feel unfamiliar. Whether it is the magic armor or the appearance of the ultimate forbidden spell, it will completely change the form of warfare. In this case, the Empire's first magic armor completely outpaced other traditional armies that relied on cavalry and infantry coordination. These armies were also new armies supported by magical weapons in the war. They were the main forces that built the reputation of General Ryder, who was an extraordinary leader. They had steam tanks and city attack machines, which were the most advanced war weapons 10 years ago. In the wars with several northern countries, General Ryder took advantage of these weapons and expanded the Empire's territory by a third. The war against the kingdom was supposed to be the decisive battle for the Empire's unification of the continent, so it was entrusted to General Ryder, who was recognized as the most outstanding army commander. Who would have thought that a sudden nuclear explosion from the sky would completely change the situation of the entire continent? The power of the forbidden spell during the Divine Era surpassed everyone's imagination. It was a power that was even more crazy than what was recorded. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to describe it as a power that could destroy everything. On his journey to the royal city for negotiations, General Ryder only stopped at the area of the nuclear explosion and witnessed the breathtaking scene with his own eyes. That was a terrifying world that could not be described in words. Starting from where the Empire's first magic army corps used to be stationed, all the way to the horizon, everything was burned and destroyed. An area of over several tens of kilometers turned into scorched earth under the power of the nuclear explosion. There was no trace of any intelligent beings left. Looking down from the rising balloons, the central area of the nuclear explosion turned into a huge vortex-shaped basin. Anyone who saw this scene would feel their own insignificance. The Empire's first magic army legion was unfortunate. They couldn't even resist and were wiped out by this power from the earth. The three titled knights were no different from the others in the Legion against this power. They were also lucky to witness the terrifying forbidden spell power, which was once thought to be a fantasy, even during the Divine Era. In the span of 10 years, this world has undergone tremendous changes. General Ryder once believed that the Empire's technology represented the most advanced power in the world, the evolution of civilization. But now, the kingdom informs the Empire that the glory of the Divine Era's power has not disappeared. The ultimate power of a nuclear explosion can instantly annihilate even the Empire's strongest legion armed with black technology. So, is the Empire prepared as I requested? Queen Ayn, emitting immense pressure, questioned General Ryder. Similarly, General Ryder, who was in a disadvantaged position, had no right to say no. Chapter 1037 We purchased, as you wish, Your Majesty the Great Queen. The establishment of the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order. The Empire will also contribute. Under the roof, people have to lower their heads. When the Empire had the upper hand, it could easily make all three major forces of the kingdom betray the royal family, even agreeing in advance to give up the royal family's last Divine Era bloodline and surrender the city. Similarly, when the kingdom played its ultimate trump card, the nuclear explosion, the Empire had no choice but to swallow its pride and agree to a series of unfair demands proposed by Queen Ayn. They fully supported the establishment of the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order and allocated most of the war reparations to this group. This is the most crucial part of the post-war treaty. General Ryder didn't understand why Ayn was so obsessed with establishing the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order, even the cost of giving up more political and military benefits that could be obtained. The breached border fortress, the political compromises made by the Empire, and even the marriage alliances that the royal family favored, all seemed immature. By the standards of a qualified politician and a queen of a nation, Ayn was completely unqualified. However, no one had the right to criticize her or change her decisions. No matter how strange and unreasonable this decision may seem, it is still true, because she is the queen who possesses the ultimate forbidden spell, never seen before in this continent. Her authority has been unwavering since the moment the first magic army legion of the Empire was completely destroyed. Bluntly speaking, even if she were a tyrant, people would have to endure it. And when it comes to forming a Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order, it goes without saying. Her authority is equivalent to the founder of the Empire, the genius Knight Emperor. Her will is the absolute will of the kingdom, which must not be disobeyed. It can even greatly influence the Empire. It seems there is nothing she cannot obtain. It is not completely impossible for her to become the Emperor of the Empire. If she could marry one of the royal family members of the Empire. General Ryder, out of habit, deduced the future from a political perspective and arrived at a result that was difficult for even him to believe, but still reasonable. After all, the Empire and the kingdom are just different branches of the same family. Even in this fierce war, both sides agreed not to harm civilians because it was important for both sides to protect their property. The reason why the three major forces in the kingdom betrayed was because the Empire promised to ensure the safety of their property and families after the war. If the Empire wins, they will inherit the rightful rule of the Divine Era and achieve their ambition of uniting the continent. If the kingdom wins, it proves that the bloodline of the Divine Era is still unshakable and they will remain the dominant country of the continent. The essence of this war is the battle for the Divine Era crown, codenamed Crown War. When the Empire had the upper hand in the war, the loyal knights of the royal family in the kingdom were completely wiped out. Apart from a couple of kittens, only 2 princesses remained hiding in the Divine Era Tower. No one could have imagined that the sacred crown recognized by the continent would end up being worn by Princess Ayn, who was not even 14 years old. With her own strength alone, she completely determined the outcome of this war. Even General Ryder, who takes pride in the Empire's advanced technology, felt immense pressure in front of the queen of the nuclear explosion. The sense of oppression he felt facing a field beyond his comprehension was unprecedented. Neither this world nor this continent was prepared for the arrival of a divine-era magic mage. This power, which clearly only exists in legendary stories, is rare even during the divine era. At this moment, before him stands a warlock who can rival the heroes of mythical times. Then, the contract is complete. Ain's dominance overwhelmed General Ryder, who was not only her elder, but also the top-ranked general on the continent. Once upon a time, this general was one of the heroes she admired. In battles against the northern countries, his series of decisions maximized the advantages of the new type of weapons, achieving results that shocked the entire continent. At that time, she never imagined that this elder would become her enemy. Even less did she expect that she would defeat the top-ranked general on the continent and force him to sign a series of unequal treaties with the Empire. Everything is for the Great Silver Dragon. From now on, please start sending suitable candidates for the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order, Empire. I know you have a daughter, and the Empire also has many eligible princesses and duchesses. As a member of the royal family, Ain is very familiar with the outstanding girls from the opposite empire. The 7th, 8th, 9th, and 13th princesses must also come. The daughters of the 3 northern dukes should not be absent either. As Ain listed familiar names one after another, each name made General Ryder's face turn even more sour, but he reluctantly nodded. Are these girls now going to be treated as part of the Empire's compensation to the kingdom and be held hostage? This kind of practice is in line with the rules of the Divine Era. Keeping princesses and princes of defeated and vassal countries as hostages in the court of the suzerain country is a common method. However, why does this group called the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order only accept females, especially girls under the age of 18? Can this Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order really retrieve the power of the Divine Era? After sending away the suspicious General Ryder, Ain breathed a sigh of relief. As a queen, she had many immature aspects, but luckily she didn't reveal too many flaws. No one would have ever guessed that she was not a forbidden spellcaster of the Divine Era at all, but a spokesperson with a more powerful background than the forbidden spellcasters of the Divine Era. Promise, we will definitely fulfill it. In the name of the mighty Silver Dragon, even if we have to sacrifice the entire world, we will do it without hesitation. It was an unwavering determination that nobody could attain, a path chosen by Ain as the Stargazer, surpassing her royal identity. Perhaps this path is full of difficulties, but no matter what kind of obstacles, she has decided to surpass and break them. The Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order will definitely change this world. Adley, you are the king of this world. Whispering softly, Ain showed a gentle smile. As the older sister, she was only temporarily taking the position as the queen of this kingdom. The true queen of this world is Adley, her younger sister, who possesses the blessing of the Silver Dragon, even though she hasn't grown up yet, because she is a child loved by the great Silver Dragon. Chapter 1038 we purchased with a command from Queen Ain, from the Empire's dukes to the common merchants. Everyone knew about the establishment of the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order. The entire kingdom was boiling with unprecedented excitement. Since the Empire invaded, the entire kingdom's dignity has been trampled on and abused. The oldest country on the continent, the inheritance of the Divine Era country, became a joke overnight in the face of the Empire's overwhelming absolute power. It was only when the devastating Forbidden Curse appeared that people once again realized the depth of the ancient Divine Era country. The name of the Nuclear Blast Queen shook the entire continent overnight, even gaining fame overseas. Ain completely ascended to the Divine Realm. The Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order she wanted to establish was destined to become the focus of the entire continent. For a while, any underage girl who met the conditions became highly sought after and cherished. Noble girls, accompanied by their fathers and brothers, formed a massive delegation heading towards the capital of the kingdom. Along the way, they continued to recruit more members, quickly creating several delegations with thousands of people. The merchant alliances led by Gasper went deep into remote villages and even the wilderness, using all means to form contracts with ancient tribes and even different races, gathering various underage girls. Unlike the diplomatic missions that took the upper route, the merchant groups took the lower, or even outlandish routes. After all, our nuclear explosion queen herself said that race and background are not limited. In order to find suitable candidates, they went up the mountains, down the seas, and even dug underground. They visited every intelligent race they could find. Even if the height exceeds 3 meters, as long as the females are trolls and under the age of 18, they meet the requirements. Even if they are less than 1 meter tall, as long as they are pocket-sized beauties from the dwarf race, they are also qualified. Take them all.
What?
A rare mermaid girl? Take her, even if it means spending all our fortune. Well, they may lack a bit in culture, but these underage girls from different races definitely meet the requirements of the nuclear explosion queen in terms of both figure and appearance. In order to sign contracts with these rare exotic races and make these girls willingly go to the capital, the merchants spared no effort and offered huge sums of money. The commercial activity called girl trades became the obsession of all the merchants on this continent for a while. In order to obtain the recognition of Queen Ain, who possesses the forbidden spell of nuclear explosion, both the nobles and the merchants went all out. Even the high and mighty royal families sent many eligible princesses to Ain. If Ain were a prince instead of a princess, it would have been a grand occasion for the whole continent to form alliances. This is the awe that this land has for ultimate power and its response to the nuclear explosion forbidden spell. Queen Ain, who possesses the forbidden spell power of the divine era, can truly do as she pleases. Princess. Princess. We have goods. Count Gasper joyfully held onto his precious treasure, which he had finally managed to buy from an ancient family, and rushed into the palace. What goods? With a flushed face, Adley looked at the book, The Correct Method for Hatching Dragon Eggs, and interacted with the sacred silver dragon egg a few times, which made her body even more sensitive. These past few days, the two sisters would go to the enormous bath where the dragon eggs were placed in the late hours of the night, carrying out the blushing and heart-pounding task of hatching. Now, even her every breath seems to carry a faint trace of dragon's spiritual energy. The same symptoms happened to her sister Ain as well, although they were slightly milder. That's the book you need, princess. Being a good merchant, it is important to find a way to get whatever the customer needs and sell it for a good price. Moreover, this customer is none other than the kingdom's first princess, the future queen-to-be, possibly the next nuclear blast queen. Gasper is giving it his all.
Ah.
Have you found it? Compared to her initial ignorance, Adley seems to have grasped some things that were not taught in the textbooks lately, although it's still somewhat unclear to her. When having those intense conversations with the dragon egg, occasionally, a mysterious voice saying, Pafu,
Pafu,
can be heard. Every time she hears that voice, a sense of pleasurable embarrassment sweeps over Adley, causing her to involuntarily make cute sounds. Yes, you will surely be satisfied, princess. I believe these few books are just like the one in the princess's hands, created by the same illustrators. Count Gasper has to admit that finding original copies of the same caliber as the princess's book from the restricted divine era was much more difficult than he imagined. These rare originals are also of the highest artistic value, probably only a handful of them in the entire continent. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call them treasures of the world. This time, he had to use Queen Ain's name in order to successfully purchase these few originals that have been kept in the library of an ancient family since the Divine Era. It is said that these books all come from a short-lived market in the Divine Era, and there are no copies at all. The reason is that they need to use special paper and illustration style to depict this level of artwork, and nobody knows how they are made. Those who tried to copy these illustrations all failed, as if there is some kind of magic in these illustrations that humans cannot understand. In other words, these few books, plus the one in Princess Adley's hands, are unique and can be considered as artistic treasures from the divine era. I want it. Adley raised her little hand. As the princess wishes. Count Gasper happily handed over these original books from the divine era to the excited little princess. Adley carefully picked up one of them and saw the title, The Shameless and Lustful Demon King and the Stories That 1,000 Princesses Must Tell. Wow, this seems different from The Proper Way to Hatch Dragon Eggs. However, the cover is truly beautiful, even emitting a faint glow, completely spotless. Yes, it's a book with this kind of artistic style, originally called Divine Era, filled with mystical power. The covers feature lovely girls, and they are not wearing clothes. What's more, this is actually a series. The Shameless and Lustful Demon King, and the Story of 1,000 Sisters That Must Be Told. Yes, is it an illusion? It feels like the art style has become cuter and more alluring. The Shameless and Lustful Demon King, and the Story of 1,000 Daughters That Must Be Told. Wow. This cover looks very similar to Adley. Chapter 1039 we purchased late at night, in a room in the God Tower. Under the soft crystal light, Princess Adley finally learned things that she should and shouldn't learn from the 3 stories that I had to tell her, and XX had to say. Her mother, sister, and textbook didn't teach her these things. After finishing the first book, The Demon King, and the stories the 1,000 princesses had to say, Adley's little face turned red with embarrassment, almost wanting to bury itself in the ground. So, this is what intimacy means. It means that what her sister, her, and the dragon egg did was so close. The princess has a beautiful face, a clear voice, and elegant dresses. Every morning when the princess wakes up, she faces the sun and sings, praising the happiness in the world. The princess hopes to bring happiness to everyone and become a princess loved by all. At that time, she didn't yet realize that she would encounter such misfortune. On the day when the pale moon and the ocean meet, the Demon King resurrected in this world. The princesses on the mainland will face the tragic fate of becoming sacrifices. The scary monster, Demon King, can only be appeased by offering a beautiful princess as sacrifice, or else he will bring forth the calamity that devours lives. Oh, the poor princesses. Even though they know they won't return, they can only accept such a tragic fate. Like a butterfly in a storm. The young girl's innocent and naive voice read a passage from the book The Story of Demon King and 1,000 Princesses, accompanied by exquisite and magnificent illustrations, creating an immersive atmosphere. Filled with anticipation, Adley continued reciting the selected parts of the book that made their heart race. I know she's my sister, and it's wrong. It's a crime, but I just can't control myself. Look at the reflection in this mirror, how clouded and hopeless my eyes are. The younger sister gently lowered her head and whispered words full of magic into my ear. Brother, I like you. She cried and told me, while feeling uneasy, that she, like me, cannot control her emotions. In this way, no one can separate us. We will always be together.
Wow. Woohoo.
It turns out, there are situations where even a little sister can be together with her big brother, but this brother has too many little sisters. When Adley finally opened the book Demon King and 1,000 Unforgettable Stories, not only her face but even her ears turned bright red. Being completely clueless about these things, she had no immunity to the love stories described in the original Divine Era. The 3 books in the original Divine Era's Demon King series record different stories, sometimes in the first person, sometimes in the third person, but it seems that the protagonist is always the same person, the Demon King who always has interactions with 1,000 girls. The feeling of being immersed in the story can be experienced by anyone who reads this book, thanks to the author's delicate writing style that perfectly matches the illustrations in the book. On the rippling water's surface, the young girl's snow-white feet stepped in the ripples. Her feet were small and delicate, almost as small as they could fit in a palm, soft and smooth. Hello, Is this a dream? If this is a dream, please don't let me wake up. Sweet whispers reached her ears as the girl gently lifted her head. Her snow-white skin radiated a jade-like brilliance in the sunlight, giving off a sense of sacredness and invulnerability. In the warm hot spring, her snow-white toes were like little cat paws, shy and adorable. The ripples created on the water surface by her footsteps were so captivating. She ran up to the person, closed her eyes obediently, with a happy smile, and puckered her little mouth, giving a kiss. The best. The young girl offered her sweet kiss, then stood on her tiptoes, twirling to the melody of a fairy, her petite body moving gracefully like a slowly blooming water lily. Can't stop anymore. What can't stop, Adley? The door of the room was gently opened, and Ein, who had finished dealing with the troublesome matters, looked at Adley, who was reading with a puzzled expression. With that enthusiastic tone, intoxicating emotion, and rosy cheeks, was she reading a famous world literature? Ah, big sister. Adley let out a miserable sound as if caught in the act, and hurriedly stuffed the 3 original Divine Era books into her drawer. I'm done for. I'm in big trouble. If big sister Ein finds out, Adley won't be able to go to heaven. Yes, it's the song of love that can't stop, big sister. Shall we also go to hatch some eggs tonight? Adley looked at her big sister Ein with clear, pitiful eyes filled with tears. It seems that big sister Ein hasn't noticed her secretly looking at those Divine Era originals. Even she knew that these 3 hidden books couldn't be discovered by her sister. The content of these books was too daring. I just learned a way to deepen love. It's an old folk song. Ein is a very traditional princess. She received standard ladylike education before becoming a queen. What the story that the Demon King and XX must tell, or whatever banned book, has absolutely nothing to do with the traditional and ladylike Princess Ein. She taught her younger sister how to learn the ways of love, naturally in a ladylike manner. What the Demon King and XX? Ein hasn't read a single book, and she doesn't even know that such a Divine Era ever existed. In the spacious bathroom, the sisters began to sing together. It was a love ballad that had been handed down for millions of years, a wisdom crystallization from the Divine Era. Once dreams wandered in the embrace of the night, my beloved, help me see the path ahead. If this is destiny, let's walk it together. In my eyes, you are like sunlight shining through the leaves, giving me the courage to live and a smile filled with happiness. In you, I feel a connection that surpasses everything else. I can smile under the sky because you are by my side. Singing a song born because of you is proof of my love, believing that this feeling can reach your heart. Cute, happy, sad, and worried, these all make up the melody of love. The sweet, joyful, sad, painful, even regretful, and anxious are all melodies of love. Will my sister notice? In any case, hide these strange Divine Era origins. There might be a need for them in the future. Who wrote these bad Divine Era origins? Why are they all titled Demon King? And this Demon King is shameless, completely lacking morals. Chapter 1040-inch. We purchased how much time has passed. Yunshi's consciousness is in an ambiguous and hazy world, unlike any world he has experienced before. There was no bonfire to light up hope. There was no towering tower that connected the sky and the earth. Here, it was like a lonely island in the vast ocean of stars, located at the center of the endless starry sky. However, this island was constantly torn apart by 4 different forces. It swayed north, south, and west, with only the eastern star domain remaining calm while the other 3 star domains reached out with their dark hands towards this island. Among them, the first to gain an advantage was the silver chain from the northern god's domain. It seemed like a delicate chain, but it was deeply rooted in this island. It seemed that this chain was forged for the purpose of binding everything, whether it be souls or flesh, to this drifting island in the void. Next, there was a ribbon that connected from the western god's domain. The vibrant ribbon interwove into a beautiful rainbow of 7 colors. Although it didn't cling to the silver chain in the north, it didn't show any intention of letting go either. As time passed, the colors of the rainbow dove deeper into the island, as if determined to find this island from the endless starry sky, no matter how long it took. As for the southern region of God's domain, it was falling behind in the three-way struggle. This star domain, which was supposed to have the most powerful force with 2 creators, for some reason, whether it was the curse of the Lord of Chaos or the evil mark left by the Nameless Lady, didn't display the expected strength. Their power, in this starry sky, seemed to be weakened by some invisible rules. The fate of this drifting island can probably be described as the 3 nations standing together. Even though he was the owner of this island, Yunshi could not choose his own destiny.
Ah.
Can I only choose one for now? Yunshi sighed as he watched the island carrying his body and soul heading towards a fragmented end. Yes, master. This is called fighting poison with poison. First, borrow the power from one side, overpower the other 2, and then escape. Meyer took on the role of a competent commentator, telling Yunshi about the current situation. With the help of the stars, she used her special ability as a star spirit to activate the star trial. She chose a certain god's domain where the 4 creators couldn't interfere. If the trial was successful, Yunshi, who is the star child, would be free to roam the wide sea and fly in the sky, escaping the terrifying Azura field in this endless god's domain, and gain a chance to catch his breath. For Yunshi, his 4 ex-girlfriends finding out and blocking him was an absolute death trap. Unfortunately, even though Meyer had the card of the star trial, the 4 ex-girlfriends who had let Starchild escape multiple times were not to be taken lightly. They were all prepared with different tricks in case this situation occurred. Supreme Dragon God Asha threw out the chains made from the flesh of the star-hunting dragon Mumu Narabel. The divine Ionia presented her rainbow-colored ribbon made with the power of destiny. The chaotic ruler Naya forcefully engraved the chapter of the abyssal demon's true name. Nameless Lady marked the target with a unique seal that branded them as a sinner in the entire Endless God's domain. Right now, the 4 forces are fighting for the island formed by Yunshi's flesh and soul in the void. If things continue like this, it's not looking good. So, Meyer had to make a proposal for Yunshi to choose the power of one of his ex-girlfriends and suppress the powers of the other 3 ex-girlfriends. This can only happen when 4 forces are kept in balance, and then Yunshi's can have a decisive impact. Only Yunshi himself can break this dilemma that he's facing. If I had to choose only one. Yunshi looked around at the 3 factions tearing at each other, wearing a helpless expression. No matter who you choose, it's a dead end. The only difference is whether you die early or die late. This is the consequence of treading on the 4 ex-girlfriend boats from before the creation. He underestimated the severity of the calamities he had caused in his past life. The 4 legendary ex-girlfriends haven't appeared yet, but they have already caused the star bridge of the Endless God's domain to almost collapse. If the 4 of them were to arrive and start fighting, it would be a scene of unimaginable destruction. It would be so good if they all loved peace like the Queen of the West who came to Lilibet. Without realizing it, Yunshi liked Lilibet and the kind Queen of the West even more. In this big chaos, they were the only ones who didn't harm him. If I can only choose one, then it's her. With conflicting eyes, Yunshi held onto the cold and somewhat familiar chain. Supreme Dragon God Asha. Although she seems to be the most dominant and actively pursued of his 4 ex-girlfriends, the power she uses is the one that Yunshi is most familiar with. Her daughter star-hunting dragon Mumu Narabel is also the only dragon that Yunshi knows the real name of, and is the youngest member of the Starwings Knights that he planted the seed in. Looking back now, his encounter with Mumu felt like fate. Now his body is bound by the flesh and blood chain of star-hunting dragon Mumu Narabel, and he can't separate from it even if he wanted to. Since there are no good choices, at least choose the one that you're more familiar with. So, it's you, Asha's power. The silver-white, holy and invincible power of the star-hunting dragon, transformed by the sacred Mumu. At the moment when Yunshi made his choice, the silver-white star-hunting dragon chains suddenly emitted a dazzling brilliance, as if proudly declaring their victory in this war against the other three. The once isolated situation of the three factions began to undergo drastic changes with this choice. The vessel that constituted Yunshi's flesh and soul began actively accepting the life form from the star-hunting dragon Mumu Narabel and actively merging with it. This is not surrender, just a temporary compromise. The multicolored ribbons, along with the black holy Bible composed of the true name of the demon god and the sinful imprint condensed by Nameless Lady, were temporarily suppressed deep within the isolated island by the silver-white star-hunting dragon chains. Amidst countless silver-white particles dancing around, the goal of the star trial world kept changing, finally revealing a world in the midst of the clash between the new and the old, full of transformation. That world had the shadow of a giant dragon, the traces of an abyss, and a mysterious tower that had been under construction since the Divine Era. In a world where ancient magical bloodlines and modern technology coexist, a new era is about to hatch from its closed shell. A world called Sia. Chapter 1041 We Purchase Sia's World, the oldest words from the Creator God. In the beginning, this world had no light. The boundary between the sky and the earth was mixed together, and the entire world was in a chaotic state, like a gaseous environment. Only a huge beast called Leviathan lived in the atmosphere filled with chaos. Until one day, a sword named Sia fell into this world and instantly killed Leviathan, the sky beast that was roaming in the atmosphere. The Leviathan, killed by the sword, cursed the sword that fell from beyond the sky. Its remains formed an unbreakable barrier in the atmosphere, permanently sealing the ancient sword that fell here. The remaining part fell into the interior of the gaseous planet and became the land. Sia, as the Creator God's sword that divides the sky and the earth, also became the name of this world. From the remains that fell from Leviathan, the sky beast, the dragons, the kin of Leviathan, gradually appeared. They were the rulers of this world in its ancient times, the masters of the earth and the sky. Apart from being unable to leave the atmosphere, the dragons had unlimited freedom. They were the most powerful beings in the Divine Era, direct descendants of Leviathan. They are born with the powerful magic of Leviathan and strong bodies. Even the weakest white dragon can fly in the sky and make the earth tremble with a roar. The dragons dominated the world until the Divine Era arrived. In this world's Divine Era, it began with a sudden magic tide, which was said to be a sign of Creator God's sword Sia awakening and regaining power for Su. The oldest humans appeared in that era. These humans suddenly appeared on the earth, are the ancestors of the human race in this world. They were born with incredibly powerful abilities and could even withstand the mighty dragons. Among them, the strongest hero, known as a legendary figure with demigod powers, once single-handedly killed 3 ravaging evil dragons, astonishing the dragon race. God weapons also began to appear in that era. It is said that all the god weapons in this world are fragments of Creator God's sword Sia. At the peak of the Divine Era civilization, humans possessed 17 god weapons, which even the dragons feared. That era was the proudest time for humans. The human civilization, where humans were the main race, and the exotic civilization, where dragons were the masters, formed the 2 poles of this world. After several large-scale wars, both sides suffered heavy casualties. Realizing that the world could no longer bear such wars, the dragons and humans signed a ceasefire agreement, acknowledging the human sovereignty over the continent during the Divine Era. The dragon clan withdrew from the struggle for sovereignty over the continent and entered the depths of the ocean with most of their kin, becoming the rulers of the sea. Humans gained control of the land, while the dragon clan ruled the seas. The sky belonged to the gods during the Divine Era, and finally, peace was achieved. However, humans, dragons, and other races discovered a shocking phenomenon. The magic tide, the source of magic power, was weakening. Humans with the Divine Era bloodline were born because of the magic tide. The decline of the magic tide meant that those humans with the Divine Era bloodline would face decline and perish. Similarly, the dragons in the ocean didn't fare much better. Their bodies had adapted to the presence of the magic tide and had significantly evolved from the original dragons. They were no longer primitive dragons that relied solely on physical combat. The decline of the magic tide represented the overall weakening of supernatural powers. Humans, dragons, and other races all entered a period of great decline. No one can explain why this phenomenon occurs, just like no one knows where Creator God's sword Sia exists in this world, and in what way. The magic tide brought the civilization of this world into its most glorious era. Humans could build towers hundreds of meters high on the plains and create nearly eternal tombs underground. In the declining divine era of the magic tide, humans even tried their best to obtain forbidden power, which was the study of nuclear explosions. Unfortunately, these final efforts ended in failure. During the divine era, no one possessed the power of nuclear explosions. Soon after, the weakening of the magic tide caused the entire world's civilization to begin a great decline. Without the magic towers that absorbed magic from the air, humans could no longer maintain protective magic barriers around their cities or launch magic cannons. War returned to the era of swords, spears, knights, and sages. The power of the wizards gradually weakened with each generation, and eventually, they were unable to guide magic through wisdom alone. Only the warlocks who still carried some divine era bloodline reluctantly kept the existence of magical civilization. Now, there is no longer any fertile ground for the birth of orthodox mages. The extreme weakening of the magical environment has led the mages who relied on learning and wisdom to reach a dead end. They can only switch to becoming scholars and alchemical warlocks to preserve the last dignity of magical professions. The road of advanced technology is the path that the wizards had to choose when they lost their magical powers. The pure-blooded warlocks, who inherited the final glory of the divine era, have become as rare as living fossils. There are probably less than 10 of them in the whole world. Now, no matter which continent you are on, even if you can only perform basic and rough spells as a warlock, it proves that there is still a tiny trace of the divine era factor in your bloodline. You won't have to worry about making a living for the rest of your life. Despite living in a world where the divine era bloodline has completely declined, people still yearn for the brilliance of that era. Even scholars and alchemists who have turned to the path of advanced technology are no exception. The dragons have disappeared. The owners of the magic towers have all died. The descendants of Leviathan have, one by one, lost their extraordinary powers and even have difficulties with reproduction. Humans, who once reached the peak in the divine era, can no longer cultivate hero-ranked wizards. After the divine era, besides bloodline warlocks, no one has entered the realm of hero-ranked wizards. Knights, armor, spears, and swords have become the main forces in war once again. The disciples of wizards have had to start learning politics anew. The formula for calculating magic power was completely changed. It was replaced with the simple principles of mechanics and lever structures. The era of magic came to an end, and the era of knights began. Whether descendants of Leviathan or descendants of the divine sword Sia, they all had to get used to the new rules and find their balance again in blood and fire. Scholars found a path called black technology through countless failed experiments. If everything goes smoothly, this power should have been the one to completely conquer the world. Until this day, something from beyond the sky broke through the curse of Leviathan the sky beast and fell to the ground of this world. Chapter 1042 We purchased Yun. She was perceiving the information of this world. From willingly accepting the binding power of the dragon god Asha, to fusing with the flesh of the star-hunting dragon Mumu Narabel, his trial began the moment he broke into the atmosphere of this imprisoned world. Unlike any previous trial of the stars, this trial of the stars didn't have a clear goal. This world, isolated from the entire sky by the remains of Leviathan the sky beast, was in a completely secluded state. This is also the main reason why the Trial of the Stars specifically chose this world as the trial location. Since entering this world, the marks left by his 4 former girlfriends, who were at the level of creation, temporarily lost contact with their masters. However, this doesn't mean that their power doesn't exist.
Boom, boom, boom.
A strong and powerful heartbeat kept pounding in Yunshi's chest. It wasn't the heartbeat of a human, but the sound emitted by Yunshi's body, which was a mixture of the star-hunting dragon Mumu Narabel. It was the voice of the starry sky dragon. In a blur, Yunshi heard a sound. It was the singing voice. Gentle and enchanting, a melody of love. Like a love song whispered by a young girl to her lover. No matter when or where, this longing stays with you, because it is the song of my love. I was born to love you, and I sing out loud to spread love. Since I met you, this melody has been flowing endlessly, and it still echoes in my heart. Come and listen, my beloved voice, my love. Who could it be? A bit unfamiliar, yet it brings a comforting feeling, a voice with a hint of motherly love. And not just one person. Slightly older, filled with devotion and longing, singing like a spring's nightingale. Smaller, full of curiosity and innocence, like a cute little canary. Even though they were still young, they wanted to try to fly. Even though the sky here wasn't suitable for soaring, they were trying to break free. So, they were given wings, the power to fly. We still need more of these songs and warmth. Yunshi instinctively knew the conditions he needed to break out of his shell and, through exchanging energy with these 2 little birds, he conveyed his message. Yes, it was really, really pure, without any hidden desires. Both Ein and Adley received this message. I hear a voice. The great silver dragon is calling us. Only here, Ein wasn't the queen up high, but a 14-year-old girl. If possible, she also wishes to be loved and carefree like any 14-year-old princess, by her father and mother, and just like her sister Adley. Unfortunately, those times have gone and will never come back. The Empire's war completely changed many things. The king and queen who inherited the bloodline of the Divine Era Knights chose to fight for the dignity of the Divine Era bloodline. As the last Divine Era bloodline warlock on this continent, she took on the responsibility of being the Divine Era Tower Guardian, guarding the kingdom's last Divine Era legacy. Sister, is that the voice of Lord Silver Dragon? Adley hugged her own shoulders, her young body trembling uncontrollably. It was such a great and warm power. When surrounded by that power, anyone could feel their own insignificance. In an instant, the 2 sisters even saw the vast and countless starry sky, as well as numerous intertwining star bridges. In comparison, Sia's world was like a tiny pearl lost in a sea of stars, completely inconspicuous. Yes, this is a miracle and hope. Ein hugged her sister, her cheeks glowing with pride. Finally, she heard the sound of the magnificent silver dragon. This means her efforts were not in vain. The holy silver dragon from beyond the stars really heard her voice and responded. It still needs more people to help hatch, so it can break out of this silver dragon egg. She and Adley were the children chosen by the silver dragon. She was determined to fulfill this promise, no matter the cost. She was willing to risk everything, even the future of the entire kingdom. Oh, how beautiful. Lord Silver Dragon. In that moment of crossing paths, Adley also caught a glimpse of the majestic silver dragon. Whether it was the awe-inspiring silver scales or the splendid golden and red ribbons, Adley couldn't take her eyes off them. It must be said that the sisters had the same taste in aesthetics. Neither of them was immune to the charm of this holy silver dragon from beyond the heavens. It may not be quite right to say it was love at first sight. They were not old enough to talk about love and romance yet. But the feeling of being deeply moved and looking forward to something bigger than themselves, maybe even more awe-inspiring than love itself. Belief, excitement, as if witnessing a divine being right beside oneself. For the living beings in Sia's world, who were trapped on the earth and saw the sky as a forbidden zone of the divine, the sacred silver dragon from the starry world really was like a divine being. Sister, are we going to hatch Lord Silver Dragon? Finally, Adley understood why her sister had established the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order. Yes, the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order is meant for the great Lord Silver Dragon. Adley, you and I will become the first-generation captain and vice-captain of the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order. Ain's gaze transcended time, as if seeing the future glory that belonged to the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order. Even though the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order currently only consists of her and Adley, she had no doubt that this unprecedented Knight Order would completely change the world. The seeds of change had already begun to take root and sprout when the sacred silver dragon fell from the outer atmosphere to this land. I will try my best. From the time he was born until now, Adley, who had only picked up the heaviest object of a teddy bear doll, stood tall with his little chest filled with radiance. In Adley's eyes at that moment, her sister was the greatest queen in the world, the ruler of Sia's world. Because she was the one who discovered the divine being. Well then, take off your clothes and start hatching the eggs. Ain's eyes were filled with the same radiance as Adley, a sense of mission that carried the weight of history. The young girl's snow-white skin and breath echoed in the still, empty giant bath. The hatching pool that had been idle since the divine era finally began to operate again. The warm, transparent spring water cleansed the princess's delicate skin, soothing their bodies and helping them recover from fatigue. Chapter 1043 we purchased around the kingdom of Sia's world, the capital of the kingdom. Several huge, newly built residences surrounded the entire capital, with flags of different countries, nobles, and trade guilds flying above these new residences. At first glance, it looked like an army had besieged the capital. Of course, with the deterrence of the nuclear blast queen, such a thing was impossible to happen. These temporary bases that were hastily built in the past few days are the camps of the major forces participating in the selection of the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order. The large envoys from all over the mainland rushed here, and the number of people from the business guild exceeded the capacity of all the inns in the capital. Except for a few key figures in the envoy teams, the rest of the personnel can only be arranged outside the capital to solve their own accommodation problems. This doesn't pose a challenge to the many envoy teams and commercial alliances from all over the mainland. They have contributed money and effort, and even borrowed construction machinery from the Magic Army Legion of the Empire. Soon, they built more than a dozen huge camps outside the capital. Since the Queen issued the command to recruit members for the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order, every day, underage girls from different countries and factions are continuously sent to the capital. Among them, those who come from noble backgrounds and have good relations with the kingdom have the privilege of entering the capital in advance. They can live in hotels near the palace or in noble families. However, as the number of recruits kept increasing, those who arrived later couldn't find a place to stay and had no choice but to temporarily reside in these newly established camps, waiting for the official announcement of the start of the selection by the nuclear explosion queen. The initial teams that arrived naturally came from the internal forces of the kingdom. Regardless of whether they were from the royal family, nobility, or business guilds, they had the advantage of being first and naturally built the most luxurious and comfortable camps. Following them were the envoy teams sent from the border between the kingdom and the empire. The residence of this delegation is the largest and looks like a military fortress. If it weren't for the peace treaty signed by the kingdom and the empire after the war, no one would dare to let the empire build such a terrifying fortress near the capital of the kingdom. Later, the official delegations of several northern kingdoms also arrived from afar. As official envoys, they were also assigned decent residences. Then came various bizarre trade union teams. Compared to the national teams with official documents, the personnel of these teams are the most complex. To become a top-notch merchant on this continent, most of these trade union teams have deep backgrounds, and many even represent certain noble families. Although their individual strength may not compare to any of the national teams, the selection of the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order this time is not about strength. From the selection of underage girls from the national teams and trade unions, we can see a huge gap in ideology between the two sides. The national teams chose exclusively from noble daughters. All of them have received a good education and possess the grace of ladies. Some are young knights, some are scholars still in their studies, and some are apprentices of the church. There are even real princesses among them. At first glance, it looks like a ball for underage noble daughters at the national level. As for the criteria for choosing the business alliance, they accepted anyone who fit Queen Anne's requirements for underage girls, no matter how many there were. Young village girls, they wanted them, they wanted them. Young warrior girls, they wanted them, they wanted them. Even young thieves, they wanted. These things were within people's common knowledge, but the people of the capital city were amazed when these newcomers arrived one after another. Young ogre girls who were over 3 meters tall, wielding giant battle axes, weighing hundreds of kilograms. It was said that the business alliance bought this future chieftain of the ogres and her subordinates with this battle axe. A young mermaid girl lying in a water tank filled with pearls. This species didn't communicate with humans at all. It was said that they had a bad habit of singing in storms to lure sailors into the sea. No one knows how the merchants managed to find this rare species. Young dwarf girls, watching a group of little girls under 1 meter tall running around asking for candy. It gave the impression that the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order was kidnapping underage girls. Young lamias, with snake bodies up to 6 meters long. They were a terrifying species that had made human armies tremble during the Divine Era. The merchants' bravery and imagination were beyond belief. They even managed to find a species that was humanity's natural enemy. After these young girls from different races arrived, the national team's base was about to raise a red alert. Don't be fooled by the fact that they are still underage. Their combat power is already enough to wipe out an entire Imperial Standard division. The ogres teamed up with the Lamia, along with the mesmerizing singing voice of the mermaid clan. This is the Leviathan formation from the Divine Era War period, the nightmare of humanity. If it weren't for the difficulties in reproduction faced by these powerful races and their low numbers, the outcome of the Divine Era War might have been completely different. The reason why the descendants of Sia's bloodline were able to defeat the dragon race, who served the Leviathan, was not only because of the god weapon formed by the shards of the creator god's sword Sia, but also their numerical advantage. In terms of individual combat ability, humans are actually far inferior to powerful races like the ogres and Lamia. You are all walking towards your own deaths. The noble imperial envoys who brought their own daughters to participate in the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order selection couldn't help but roar as they looked at the horrifying cross-race team of the Merchant Guild Alliance. We have followed the noble instructions of Her Majesty the Queen. They are all under 18, beautiful and innocent. No problem. Absolutely no problem. The representatives of the Merchant Guild Alliance were sweating profusely as they said these words. It was only when they launched a full-scale search, mobilizing all their manpower and resources, that they realized there were still many different races living on this continent. After the end of the Divine Era, these races lived in sparsely populated and extremely harsh environments, with little interaction with humans. That's why most people subconsciously ignored their existence. Until this time, the strongest human alliance, called the Trade Union, used a tactic of manpower to find them and were surprised to discover that there are so many different races living on the continent and its surrounding areas. Are humans really weak? Is that nuclear blast queen really so powerful? The representative of the ogre clan, known as the strongest warrior of this generation, looked disdainfully at the arguing merchants and nobles. The followers of Leviathan are all proud and powerful representatives. Chapter 1044 We purchased the Ogre Clan. That's the name humans gave this race, but their true name should be Troll Clan. In the largest-scale war of the Divine Era, the elite ground forces of the Leviathan followers are unparalleled. Adult individuals have a height generally exceeding 3 meters, with the largest recorded individual even exceeding 5 meters. They possess strength 10 times greater than humans, as well as a terrifying constitution that is immune to most magic and physical attacks. In multiple wars between humans and dragon clans, the Ogre Clan, as the elite ground forces of the Leviathan faction, has inflicted heavy losses on human armies multiple times. Most of the magic that humans excel at is ineffective against ogres. No matter if it's mental charm, control, intimidation, they don't have much effect on the single-minded ogre. Direct attacks like fireballs, acid bombs, ice arrows, and stone spears only tickle the ogre's body. Despite having no magic abilities, the Ogre Clan has incredibly high magic resistance and ranks in the top 5 in the Leviathan faction. And there are quite a few of them as well. Compared to the Lamia clan with higher ability to petrify, the Ogre Clan was once a nightmare for human infantry. Aside from the strongest human troops, the heavily armored cavalry, known as the Crown Gems, can hold their own against these monsters in large-scale battles. Other units facing the nearly invincible Ogre Corps usually end up in complete collapse. If it weren't for the late stages of the Divine Era War, where humans relied on their numerical advantage to defeat most of the powerful races in the Leviathan faction, the Dragon Clan wouldn't have been forced to the negotiating table. However, compared to the Leviathan faction, humans have a ridiculously high birth rate. By the late stages of the war, the Leviathan faction had almost depleted their trump cards, one superior race after another leaving the battlefield, disappearing without a trace. In the war that decided the ownership of the continent, the number of human deaths was actually over 100 times that of the Leviathan faction. Judging from the ratio of casualties, it can't really be considered a victory. The reason the dragons eventually made peace with humans was mostly because they realized that it was not worth the cost to continue fighting. That's how the Divine Era War, which decided the ownership of the continent, ended. After that, humans became the dominant species on the continent, and most of the creatures from the Leviathan faction left the continent with the dragons. Some of them went to the wilderness, far away from human influence. If everything went smoothly, humans, who gained control of the continent, should have ushered in a new era. Unfortunately, not long after the war ended, the magic tide began to weaken gradually. There are various theories about the reason for the weakening of the magic tide. Many believe that it was due to the humans descended from Sia, who consumed too much power from the creator god's sword Sia during the war, which led to the weakening of the magic tide. Those who support this theory firmly believe that the weakening of the magic tide is just a normal phenomenon, like the rising and setting of the sun. If there is a period of decline, there will inevitably be a period of activity. After a long and dark night, dawn will also come. However, for humans, who have a shorter lifespan, the duration of this night is incredibly long. After the glorious era of the divine civilization ended, thousands of years have passed, and the recovery of the magic tide still seems distant. Humans who have lost the power of the magic tide were never able to regain the power of the divine era bloodline. Similarly, the Leviathan faction, who are accustomed to the magic tide, were also unable to regain their numbers from the Divine Era period and even found it increasingly difficult to reproduce. Helpless, humans had no choice but to seek powers beyond the magical civilization of the Divine Era and embark on the path of dark technology. Once lived isolated from humans, the Leviathan clan is now appearing before humans again, trying to find a solution to the problem. The recent falling star event, believed to be the birthplace of the myth of the nuclear blast queen, prompted them to make this decision. The news of the reappearance of the forbidden magic of the divine era has shocked not only humans, but also the Leviathan faction. Even during the most glorious period of the divine era, there were only a few mages who possessed the power of forbidden magic, and the power of the ultimate forbidden spell, nuclear blast, only existed in legends. With the reappearance of the legend, these Leviathan clansmen saw a glimmer of hope to change the current situation. This time, rather than the Merchant Alliance finding these Leviathan clans, it was these isolated foreign beings who took the initiative to connect with the merchants and sent their outstanding underage girls. The Leviathan clan values the power of bloodline more than humans. They are the most faithful supporters of bloodline power. As they are not skilled in magic, all their power comes from their own bloodline. The appearance of Nuclear Blast Queen Ayn, the strongest warlock of the divine era on the continent, is great news for these Leviathan clansmen. The Leviathan clansmen admire the strong the most, so becoming the Nuclear Blast Queen has an extraordinary influence on them. Let's take the example of a noticeable orc girl, who is the most remarkable representative of the orc community in this era. She not only has grown to the adult level of 3 meters tall at an early age, but also has the potential to grow up to 5 meters tall. Stepping out of the wilderness mountains where her fellow orcs dwell, which is a forbidden zone for humans, she is more curious about the outside world than the great axe made partially with god weapon material presented by the Merchant Guild Alliance. Since she was young, she has heard the elders in her community say that humans are a very cunning and treacherous race, and they generally don't dare to confront the great orc warriors head-on in battle. However, there are also a few knights who possess combat power not inferior to the orc clan, capable of one-on-one duels against the great orc warriors. Unfortunately, she was disappointed by the fact that she hasn't seen any humans like that since venturing out of the wilderness. They're so weak. They're all a bunch of weaklings. Hey, are you the strongest soldiers of the Empire? Come and fight me. Gripping the giant axe on her back, the orc girl boldly stood up, pointed her index finger towards the base of the Imperial National Team, and then beckoned. Well, it seems that there's been some problem with the Merchant Guild's education. Elder sister, keep going. Beat them up. Humans are all weaklings. We trolls are the strongest on land. Other young female ogres brought by the Guild Alliance who met the same requirements all cheered. The shortest of them is 2 meters tall, and the tallest is 2.5 meters. Each and every one of them is a first-class warrior. Chapter 1045 we purchased the Imperial Envoy team, provoked by the Ogre Girls, had several young and hot-blooded knights who couldn't bear it any longer and stepped forward. Long live the Empire. Show those monsters the power of our Imperial Knights. Keep going, don't lose to this monster. Someone challenged them, and the members of the Imperial Envoy began shouting loudly. As elite knights of the Empire, these few were chosen as the best among thousands, talented enough to be considered heroes, and their strength was definitely not inferior to Viscount Shira, the representative of the kingdom's noble faction. This also reveals the difference between the Empire and the kingdom. After the kingdom's royal knight order was completely destroyed, the kingdom's elite were almost wiped out. However, even after losing their first magic army legion, the Empire could still send such a luxurious envoy. If it wasn't for the unfair power of the forbidden nuclear explosion spell, the kingdom being defeated by the Empire would have been certain. Finally we can have a fight. These merchants are just too timid. The ogre girl licked her lips and eagerly looked at the heavily armed Imperial Knights. Thud! With a swing of her giant axe, the ground shook. The ogre girl shrugged her shoulders, raised her double-bladed axe, and charged forward. Unlike humans who announce their presence before battles, trolls have a simple way of fighting. They just charge straight in. No matter who the enemy is, trolls always charge forward and fight. Since the Divine Era, besides dragons, there aren't many races that trolls can't overpower. Because trolls have a huge demand for meat, and during wartime, when there is no logistical support, they don't mind eating human flesh to replenish their energy. Thus, they gained the terrifying title of man-eating ogres. Actually, human flesh is very unpleasant to eat. Trolls only resort to it when they have no other choice. They prefer lamb and beef, which satisfy their tastes better. When humans are extremely hungry, they can eat anything. However, they cannot bite through troll flesh, so they naturally fear trolls who would eat them. This fear became ingrained in their bloodline, causing trolls to be known as the ogres who eat humans. They make people tremble with fear. Only elite knights from the Empire, who directly face the charge of the man-eating ogres, can truly understand the despair of the human army during the Divine Era when facing the ogre clan. Too tall, too fast, too powerful. The troll's speed, which is completely contrary to its massive physique, and its unparalleled physical and magical resistance, are the root of the trolls becoming nightmares for humans. The number of humans eaten by trolls is actually very small, while the number of humans killed by them piles up like mountains. Glory. Charge. Fearless. However, the elite knights of the Empire didn't retreat in defeat, but instead used all of their skills to counterattack. The first to strike were the steam spears, which were only equipped by the elite knights of the Empire. These were not weapons from the Divine Era war, but creations of black technology. The spiral-shaped spears, crafted to pierce through heavily armored cavalry within a 10-meter range, were a devastating force in the hands of the elite knights of the Empire. Even the royal knights of the kingdom would suffer greatly if they encountered them. The spiral spears, emitting large amounts of white steam from their tails, were aimed and thrown by the elite knights of the Empire, hitting the ogre girl in her neck, forehead, and heart. If it were a human, these 3 steam spiral spears would have completely pierced through these 3 fatal points, maybe even causing an explosion. Unfortunately, the steam spears, designed to combat human knights, encountered a troll from the Leviathan faction, a land ace from the Divine Era war. The 3 steam spears shot at the ogre girl only managed to slightly scratch her skin. They were unable to penetrate her muscles, and were deflected. That tiny, insignificant scar healed between one breath. This is the terrifying aspect of trolls. Known as the orc tribe, they are naturally highly resistant to all magic and physical attacks. Even the steam spears designed to penetrate armor couldn't pierce the skin of the troll girl. It was something even tougher than the hardest human armor. Drink. The troll girl, who easily deflected 3 steam spears, was excited. Her defense was top-notch even among her tribe, and it had been a long time since she encountered an attack that could break her skin. Humans are quite an interesting race. They are so weak in terms of their own strength, yet they can create all sorts of fascinating weapons. Take this giant axe in her hand, for example. It's something that not a single member of the troll clan possesses. The weapons trolls usually use are various types of sticks, all made from natural wood. The one who wields a bigger, stronger stick holds more authority in the clan. Finding a powerful stick after reaching adulthood is a long-standing tradition of the troll clan. The first time she grabbed the axe brought by the human merchant, even the respected elders of the troll tribe were extremely envious. This was a god weapon that had never existed in the entire history of the troll clan. Her sisters were so jealous that they drooled. Unfortunately, there were only a dozen or so people in the entire troll clan who met the requirements for the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order selection, and they were all here. The weakening of the magic tide had a severe impact on the troll clan. Now, the troll clan had only about 1,000 people in total. Compared to the Divine Era, when they had more than 5 digits, it could be said that they were in a huge crisis. The recovery of the magic tide was still far away, and the mighty strength of the troll clan had no way to deal with this natural phenomenon. So, when they learned about the news of the nuclear blast Queen, the entire Leviathan Alliance made the decision to leave the wilderness. Otherwise, how could the human merchants buy young girls from the mermaid and lamia clans? In the current situation where the number of their own kind is becoming scarce, they are precious members of their respective races. The giant axe drew a terrifying arc. The ogre girl completely ignored the knight swords that were slashing at her and hooked the bodies of 3 elite knights. Then, with a 360-degree spin, she threw all 3 of them into the sky. Her mood was pretty good today, so she didn't slaughter these human knights. As warm-up targets, they were considered good enough, and the several steam spheres gave her a long-lost sense of excitement. For her, who had long been unbeatable in the clan and once possessed the most powerful bat, this was sufficient.
Ah!
After tumbling countless times in the sky, the 3 knights crashed onto the top of the envoy's tower, one by one, vomiting blood and losing consciousness. Chapter 1046 We purchased. There's not a single person who can fight. Is there anyone else? The ogre girl who sent the 3 almost hero-ranked knights flying into the sky with one strike planted her giant axe next to her and once again extended her index finger. Big Sister Sarmanda, you're awesome. We will follow you our whole lives. You are the best in our troll clan. According to the naming customs of the troll clan, Sarmanda is the true name of the ogre girl who currently dominates the entire empire's headquarters. This is not an ordinary true name that any troll can possess. In the tradition of the troll clan, only heroes who have hunted down powerful enough prey are qualified to obtain the glory of a true name. They also strip the creature of its bloodline power and integrate it into their own bloodline. Having the true name Sarmanda means that this young ogre girl has once killed a fire lizard king with hero-ranked strength. It's a mighty creature that resides in volcanic areas, with blood flowing with the power of burning flames. It can grow up to about 7 meters long at most, and is one of the few monsters that pose a threat to trolls. The name Sarmanda is a title that only the kings of the fire lizard tribe possess. In the troll clan's habitat, this powerful monster is one of the rare, terrifying creatures that can prey on trolls, possessing the strength equivalent to a human hero-ranked being. When trolls were still young, they would hear adults threatening them like this: "Those who don't behave will be eaten by Sarmanda." This scary thing isn't just a made-up threat. This fire lizard king really did eat members of the troll tribe. Its terrifying stomach can digest the bodies of trolls, and it's the only monster around the troll tribe's habitat that can harm them. The troll clan has formed many teams to try and defeat it, but because this monster is very clever, it hides in the huge maze-like cave inside the volcano as soon as it smells the scent of the troll army. The troll clan is known for their strength in direct combat, but they're not skilled in conquering mazes and such, so they were never able to catch this cunning fire lizard king. This monster used to be a nightmare for troll clan children for hundreds of years, but in the end, it was killed by her, who was still a young girl. When the fire lizard king saw this little tasty troll, it thought it could eat her, so it rushed out without any hesitation. But the result was that fire lizard king, who had the power of a hero, was beaten to death by her with her own stick. According to the troll clan's traditions, she inherited the title of this fire lizard king. The name Sarmanda describes her dangerous nature. Inheriting the nature of the troll clan, Sarmanda is very eager for battles and has an unusual passion for weapons and equipment. The stick she used was the biggest and thickest in her tribe, even stronger than the chief's stick. After defeating everyone in her tribe, Sarmanda started pursuing more powerful weapons. At this time, the troll clan happened to make a deal with human merchants and decided to send an underage girl from their tribe to join the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order. The next thing is very simple. Sarmanda was released. At this moment, she eagerly imitated the gestures she had learned from human mercenaries and provocatively gestured towards the Imperial Army headquarters, known as the strongest on the continent. "Come on, bring it on. Something stronger. The 3 from earlier, I can take on 10 of them. Give me someone more challenging." This isn't boasting. Saramanda, who comes from the troll clan, doesn't know what boasting means. It's the truth. Being able to defeat the Fire Lizard King with just a stick and, according to troll clan traditions, strip away the true name power of the Fire Lizard King, her potential far exceeds what humans can imagine. Even in the era of gods, she was a top-notch hero candidate who could single-handedly fight the Fire Lizard King. After being deprived of her true name power, she had not yet reached the hero-ranked level. But she effortlessly took on 10 opponents of the same rank. So arrogant. This fool thinks it's still the divine era, where battles were fought with the body. I can't take it anymore. The Imperial Army's base was in chaos, and several young people were filled with righteous anger. The 3 almost hero-ranked knights who just fought were among the top 5 experts of the Imperial Army envoy this time. But the strength of the Imperial Army is not solely based on individual abilities. Don't forget, what is the true trump card of the Imperial Army? It's a magical armor that combines ancient, mysterious power and science. Even if it's not a time of war, this diplomatic team is equipped with real military armor, which is known as a terrifying power that can completely change the form of war before the kingdom's nuclear explosion forbidden spell appeared. Ogre, do you have the guts to fight us with our strongest weapons? When it comes to physical combat, probably no one in the Imperial diplomatic team can defeat the Ogre, who is acclaimed as the land warfare ace of the Divine Era. But it's different when using the power of military armor. Oh, there are even stronger ones, no problem, bring them all out. I'm looking forward to it, the power of that big guy of yours. Saramanda licked her lips. Ever since she learned about the giant weapon from the Imperial Army, she had been waiting for this moment. For the Troll Clan, there is nothing in this world that they can't fight, except for dragons. All right, as you said, you're heading towards a dead end. Several young and vigorous Imperial knights, who were already dissatisfied with this unequal treaty, quickly elected the top expert of this diplomatic team, a squad leader from the 2nd Magic Army Legion of the Empire. After the Empire's top Magic Army Legion, the 1st Legion, was completely wiped out by a forbidden spell that caused a nuclear explosion, the 2nd Legion became the most powerful combat unit in the Empire. This young captain named Morris was a prominent hero in the border war with the kingdom. He was one of the most outstanding knights in the invasion of the kingdom. The mass-produced machine that he pilots is renowned for its ability to unleash more than 3 times the power of other mass-produced machines. To honor his glory, the Empire specially allowed him to modify his mass-produced machine with a red paint job. It was said that he would soon be transferred to the 1st Legion, even with the chance of becoming a captain. It was said that the Empire had already prepared his transfer orders, but they didn't expect the 1st Legion to be completely wiped out without any warning. War, it's truly meaningless, Morris sighed. In truth, he was a noble descendant who revered the ancient code of chivalry and disliked senseless conflicts. Chapter 1047. We purchased boom.
Boom.
Boom. That is the sound of steel, the sound of the footsteps of the strongest war-armed forces on the continent. The entire Imperial envoy is equipped with only 3 mass-produced magic armor, codenamed Fierce Tiger, which is a land assault-type weapon. Unlike the other 2 black-armored units, Morris drives a Fierce Tiger armor with a unique red coating, which is a special reward from the Imperial side. In the Imperial Magic Army Legion formation, the classes of various magic armor are very distinct. At the bottom are various types of construction machinery. The operators of these armors are rookies, and they often lack armor protection. They are responsible for logistics and construction. Basically, all magic armor operators in the Empire start from here. Next are the mass-produced units, divided into 3 generations. The 1st generation mass-produced units have some performance instability. They occasionally become immobilized due to power shortages. These units are operated by rookies who have completed the initial armor course. They already have the qualifications to go into battle and are responsible for low-intensity battlefields. When necessary, they may be sacrificed as cannon fodder. The second-generation mass-produced units have improved the unstable power system issue. They are already excellent warfare tools and have shown terrifying power in the early battles between the Empire and the Kingdom. They are the main force for the Empire's invasion of the Kingdom. The drivers of these mass-produced machines are mostly experienced soldiers who have served for more than 10 years. They are the backbone of the Empire's Magic Army Legion, and currently, the second type of magic armor has the highest quantity. The third generation of mass-produced machines are only equipped by the captains of the 1st Magic Army Legion and other small teams from the Magic Army Legion. They not only have stronger power and endurance, but also require higher skills from the drivers. They are the absolute core force of the Empire's army. Lastly, there is the unique titled machine, which can only be operated by knights of hero rank. It is the strongest and most exceptional mech. Each titled machine requires an astronomical amount of resources to be built, and only knights of hero rank can pilot them. The entire Empire has managed to construct only 9 of them after putting in all their efforts. The Empire's 1st Magic Army Legion, led by the King and Queen of the Divine Era bloodline, was defeated by having only 3 titled machines. The 2 Divine Era Knights were defeated by none other than the 3 titled Knights of the Empire. White Shark, Black Shark, and Blue Shark are 3 siblings and the mechs piloted by the 3 proud titled Knights of the Empire. They are equipped with the ultimate war arsenal, including a mobile tower. The 3 siblings excel in the whale-shark formation. It was their skill that led to the defeat of the King and Queen with the Divine Era bloodline on the front lines, resulting in the complete destruction of the Royal Knight Corps. The battle that resulted in the total annihilation of the Royal Knight Corps was seen as a new chapter in the history of continental warfare, marking the turning point where the new era magic armor successfully triumphed over the old Divine Era bloodline. Who could have imagined that in an instant, the kingdom brought out a weapon of mass destruction like a nuclear explosion, wiping out the entire 1st Magic Army Legion of the Empire in a blink of an eye. The War Tower, which symbolizes the Empire's strongest military force, the 3rd generation armor that exceeds 3 digits, and the 3 knight titles of hero rank. It was not just a legion that the Empire lost, but its entire strategic plan was disrupted. Oh, so this is that armor. Saramanda curiously looked at the Empire's magic armor, which was even taller than herself, measuring about 7 meters. The weight and intimidation of this armor were indeed unlike any enemies she had encountered before. Even the Fire Lizard King, whose true name she had stripped away, didn't have this sense of oppression and quality. This war monster, made entirely of steel, can indeed only be created by humans. Just by its weight alone, this magic armor, about 7 meters tall, is a completely destructive opponent for any army still in a medieval armed state. Surrender now while you still can. Morris moved his wrist slightly, causing the red-colored magic armor to raise its hand as well. Compared to the clunky and mechanized second-generation magic armor, the third-generation magic armor is remarkably close to humans, almost like humans obtaining a huge metal shell. The black wire is connected to Morris's veins and nerves. Although there is something like a joystick, the difficulty of controlling it has actually decreased compared to the first and second generations. It is said that the armor of the knight with the title is even more advanced. It has reached a level where it can synchronize with the mind, and it doesn't even need these black wires for forced connections. Unfortunately, Morris, who is still far from being a hero ranked, cannot know what that feels like. The title machine and the mass-produced machine are completely different in terms of manufacturing principles. They are not like things from the same world. The first generation of magic armor, in fact, were all prototypes. The control methods were various joysticks and external devices. It can be seen as the starting point for all magic armors. Even a civilian who is used to operating machinery can barely control it. The second generation of magic armor began to be militarized, requiring higher physical strength from the drivers. It basically eliminated more than 90% of the civilians. Even well-trained soldiers find it difficult to operate. However, the control methods still mainly use keyboards and external devices. From the third generation of magic armor onwards, it started to enter the realm of the non-human. Even the 1 in 100 elite soldiers would find it difficult to adapt to this method of connecting the nerves and blood in combat. The control method has evolved to the level of using black wires to connect the blood and nerves. It is precisely from the third generation onwards that there becomes a huge division in the combat capability of magic armor. Skillful operators with exceptional personal abilities can unleash the power of magic armor far beyond the capabilities of the machine itself. Morris is one of the outstanding ones. As for the title machines, they are monstrous beings that can dominate normal hero-ranked ones. The Empire only has 9 of them, representing the ultimate weapons of this era, standing at the peak of the pyramid. Every title machine is equipped with a dedicated war-tall tower assistance, capable of destroying a whole country. Morris knows his own machine inside out because this big guy has almost become a part of his body. Height: 7 meters. Weight: about 50 tons, equipped with a new type of composite armor with preliminary memory alloy repairability. Weapons: a large chainsaw blade and a heavy steam javelin with a capacity of 36 rounds. Power: Tiger 7, a magic core specially designed for the captain's machine, capable of supporting the highest level core for Tiger-type magic armor, allowing this colossal beast to fight at full capacity for about an hour. Although the full combat time is only about an hour, it is more than enough to deal with opponents armed with only melee weapons on the battlefield of life and death. In the wars Morris has experienced with the kingdom, his full combat time has never exceeded 10 minutes. Chapter 1048-inch, we purchased. Is that a doll made by humans? No, it's a war puppet. It just looks really nice. The girls from Leviathan, who were descendants of the Divine Era bloodline, looked at the tiger-type magic armor with curious eyes. They were not used to referring to the highest technological creation of humans in this era. Long live the captain. Let those monsters know the power of science. The tiger type is amazing. If I could have one in my lifetime, it would be worth dying for. The members of the Imperial envoys cheered and gave Morris, who was leaving the residence, encouragement and support. It must be said that the presence of the magic armor is indeed overwhelming. Even without any weapons equipped, just the huge all-metal body gives a tremendous sense of oppression. This was the decisive power that completely changed the situation of the mainland war, a symbol of the Empire's pride in the new era. The third generation of magic armor, which allows ordinary people to surpass the impossible barrier of the Third Order and possess power comparable to hero-ranked individuals. Geniuses like Morris can unleash even stronger power than the average hero-ranked individuals, compensating for the lack of reaction speed in the magic armor. Being able to push the mass-produced machine to this level, it can be said that he has already reached the pinnacle of ordinary people in this new era. Just one more step, and he will enter the world of hero-ranked individuals. And this is also the greatest change of this era. Ordinary people finally obtain the power to defeat the Divine Era's hero bloodline. As long as they undergo enough training and possess certain qualities, even if they will never truly reach the world of hero-ranked individuals in their lifetime, they can at least obtain similar powers. The appearance of the magic armor was revolutionary for this world. Very heavy. How does it move? Saramanda tilted her head. She couldn't calculate the precise weight of this red tiger-type magic armor, but her wild combat instincts told her that this was the heaviest opponent she had encountered so far. But this is more interesting. Humans are a very interesting race. Lock on. Morris pupils and magic armor completely synchronized, a phenomenon only possible with the use of the new third-generation magic armor technology. In a sense, the third-generation magic armor is an extension of the human body itself. Even when the limbs of the magic armor shatter, the pilot will also experience the same reaction. The 2-meter-long heavy steam spear locked onto Saramanda's heart. This action was not because Morris lacked chivalry, but based on the information he knew. Ogres were terrifying creatures that wouldn't die even if their hearts were pierced. During the Divine Era War, humans would kill ogre warriors by decapitating them, dismembering their bodies, and then burning the remains into ashes using an alchemical substance called melting fire glue. If not done this way, the ogre's unimaginable regenerative abilities would make humans realize why they are the strongest land fighters among Leviathan's allies. During the early and middle stages of the Divine Era War, a small squad composed of ogre warriors could completely crush human armies of over 1,000 soldiers, with minimal casualties. It is not uncommon for one ogre to fight against 10 humans, and it is not uncommon for a group of ogres to hunt down a human army of hundreds. Humans and monsters like ogres are completely incomparable. If it weren't for the fact that there were not many ogres left, humans wouldn't have had a chance to survive until the late stages of the war. Hiss. That was a harsh and deep explosive sound. The heavy steam spears thrown by the magic armor and the ones used by the knights were completely different versions. This weapon was for attacking castles.
Ding.
Saramanda swung her giant axe for the first time to intercept the attack. The heavy steam spears with triangular diamond shapes were not designed for humans. This weapon was meant to combat giants, city walls, and fortresses. Using it to kill, just the speed and impact that can break the sound barrier alone can instantly turn humans into blood mist, leaving no trace of their bodies. However, Saramanda managed to block it, using the most primitive and awe-inspiring way, swinging her giant axe to break the heavily steamed spear with a speed exceeding the speed of sound. This is not scientific. Morris looked at the ogre girl in front of him. As the pilot of the strongest third-generation magic armor in the Imperial Legion, he is well aware of the destructive power of this heavy steam spear. Even war fortresses built with the hardest granite are as fragile as toy building blocks in front of this heavy steam spear. The ancient fortresses built on the borders of the kingdom have basically become mere decorations in the face of these heavy steam spears. The war pattern that humans have been accustomed to for thousands of years was completely changed by the power of magic armor. In front of the body made of steel weighing over tens of tons, all the armies of the old times were like weak chickens and dogs. The once dominant kingdom on the mainland was simply no match for the magic-armored legion of the Empire. However, now Morris knows that perhaps the knights of the kingdom are like lambs to be slaughtered in front of magic armor, but the ogre girl in front of him is definitely not. She is a monster from the Divine Era War period, a top-tier soldier of the Leviathan faction who once fought fiercely against the heroic knights of the Divine Era. The glory of the Divine Era bloodline has long since faded, but it is not because they are not powerful enough, but because the times have eliminated them, making these ancient and powerful bloodlines extinct. Including Morris, not many people have truly faced the power of the Divine Era bloodline. Before being annihilated by a nuclear explosion, the battle losses of the First Magic Army Legion of the Empire all occurred in the battle against the Royal Knight Order of the Kingdom, which was once considered the last remnant of the Divine Era bloodline. Now, Morris knows why the scholars and alchemists are so fascinated by the Divine Era bloodline. This powerful essence of pure life itself does indeed make people tremble. If he wasn't sitting in the driver's seat of the fierce tiger's magic armor, he wouldn't even stand a chance against this ogre girl. Ha, ha. Wow, this is so thrilling. Saramanda's breathing became rapid. That last attack could have been a threat to her, which is why she took the initiative to chop down that triangular steam spear. This feeling, she hadn't felt it since she killed the Fire Lizard King. Blood, burning. Yes, that's exactly the feeling. It allows oneself to burn fiercely and completely without holding back. Saramanda. As she activated her true name power, Saramanda's skin began to emit a hot glow, like molten lava. The scorching hot blood, like molten lava, started to rush through her body at high speed. That was a part of the special attribute possessed by Endless God's domain, the indestructible body's divine talent, the legendary strength of the giants. Chapter 1049 We purchased Haz. When activating the bloodline talent he obtained from the Fire Lizard King, Saramanda was the first one to notice that something was wrong. The blood rushing through his body was hotter, wilder, and more unrestrained than ever before. With each breath, there was a scent of sulfur and flames, like the smell of volcanic lava. Gurgle. In his ears, he seemed to hear a faint sound. It was a voice filled with primal wildness from ancient ancestors. The girls from the mermaid clan stood up from the giant aquatic box, and their fish tails gradually transformed into human legs. Hiss! The girls from the Lamia clan coiled up their snake tails, showing a cautious and curious expression. They all sensed the changes happening to Saramanda. It was a familiar feeling that awakened the ancestral bloodline. All members of Leviathan felt it. It was the power of a dragon. How could it be possible? The dragons have long disappeared from the mainland. Even the sea temple, which was built in the ocean, has been abandoned for a long time. Compared to humans, the dragons already had a very low fertility rate, and under the influence of the magic tide, they entered a period of decline even earlier. Even the mermaids living in the ocean can no longer find any trace of the dragons. It's as if the kings of the Leviathan faction have completely disappeared from this world. But now, the aura emanating from Saramanda is indeed the aura of a dragon. Could it be that the kings of the Leviathan faction, just like the forbidden spells of the divine era, have resurfaced in this era as well? Saramanda tightly grips her massive axe and begins to spin around wildly. It was an outpouring, a roar of anger, a sublime phenomenon where the essence of life begins to uncontrollably elevate. Red alert. Morris watched as the strength of the ogre girl escalated dramatically, and the life force of his opponent reached a terrifying level. That level of destruction was sufficient to cause devastating damage to the third-generation magic armor, a field that even the flesh and blood of humans could hardly penetrate. Even a hero-ranked knight would be the same. The word monster was the only way to describe his opponent. Can we really win against such a monster? For the first time, Morris felt the insufficient power of the magic armor. No, it wasn't that the power of the magic armor was insufficient. There was an even more terrifying power hidden within this body of over 50 tons of steel and iron, and he knew it. The third-generation magic armor was originally a prototype of the titled machine, and the materials required for its production involved the highest level of secrecy. Each one was exceptionally precious, with a value much higher than that of Morris, the squad leader. Although it was a mass-produced model, it was only in comparison to the titled machine. Among all the knights in the Empire, not a single person could unleash the full power of this generation of mass-produced machines. Yes, including him, they were all unqualified. The power of the third-generation magic armor surpasses the limits of ordinary people. It is not simply a matter of weight. Hidden within the huge body connected by black wires are the secrets of the titled machine. Therefore, the third-generation magic armor is absolutely not allowed to be leaked, only given to the Empire's most outstanding knight elites. The power of technology has now surpassed the limits of ordinary people. The third-generation magic armor produced by the Empire is a black technology product that goes beyond this era. The constantly appearing red warning in his field of vision is the red mechanical body telling Morris that the ogre girl on the other side is entering a higher level field. The bloodline power of the divine era has awakened in Sue. Even though she hasn't joined the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order yet, she has already obtained the key through her own efforts, hasn't she? Morris, one of the most skilled operators of the third-generation magic armor, is aware of the secrets of the Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order. Unfortunately, he has long been over 18 years old, and he is not a girl either. He is doomed to have no connection with this world-changing Holy Silver Dragon Knight Order throughout his life. Unwilling. Why do your bloodlines from the divine era return? You, who were already abandoned by the era, should just disappear obediently. Isn't it better to become something like dragons in stories?
Eli.
Sure. Sure.
Ada.
Dark spots appeared in Morris' view. It was a scenery that didn't belong to the surrounding space, as if a lot of impurities had infiltrated the timeline like dust. What is this? Morris looked in astonishment at the unknown substance that appeared in his cockpit. It seemed like these substances just suddenly came uninvited.
Ada.
Ada. After changing several times, the voice finally stabilized, and the black substance floating inside Morris' cockpit transformed into a tangible form. That was a pair of open black eyes, completely black without any white, with irregular black particles at the edges. Where? The black eyes stared at Morris, questioning him. What are you? Morris trembled all over, instinctively feeling that he had encountered something indescribable. Ada abyss. Desolate, unknown place. Listen, language. Make a choice. The black eyes began to gather together and eventually turned into a huge pupil floating in front of Morris, as if peering at this imprisoned place from a very distant location. Without cause, there is no effect. From the moment the silver dragon broke through the remnants of Leviathan, the world was destined to undergo change. Whether it's good or bad, the world called Sia is about to enter a new era. Choice. What choice? As a mortal, what else can I choose? Morris pressed his forehead, watching the continuously rising red numbers in his field of vision, revealing a sinister smile. Come on. I'll be right here. No matter who or where you are, it doesn't matter. Give me power. No matter the cost. The black giant eyes showed a mysterious view of the endless realm of the endless god's domain. It contained countless strange and indescribable objects. It gave birth to two places where the creation beings exist. Even time and space would distort there. Wherever intelligent beings exist, they will attract the shadows of the abyss. Just like there is always darkness where there is light, the abyss itself is part of the endless god's domain. The sealed Sia's world once isolated the power of the abyss, but now the situation is changing. The transformation of the world line has begun. Chapter 1050. We purchased Gurgle. In just an instant, Morris's body and soul were consumed by the black substance embodied by those indescribable things. As he had wished, he was corroded by the power of the abyss. The cost is falling into the endless dark abyss. Fear, madness. In just a few seconds of touching the black substance, he suddenly fell deep into the abyss, made of this black substance. There was no turning back, because this was the choice he made. In order to gain power, he betrayed everything he had. Flesh, soul. Everything was tainted by the power of the abyss. Come on. I see it, Ada. Before his body was contaminated, Morris shouted out the true name of the abyss power that was devouring him. That was the disaster that came to this world along with a certain star child with a forbidden name. Buzz. Countless black and white snowflake fragments began to appear around Morris, and then turned into an incredibly huge black eye, gazing at the knight who had sacrificed himself. Talent. 10 blades. Accept it. Hiss. From behind Morris, another pair of arms began to burst out of his body, representing the young knight surpassing the human field and entering an unknown realm.
Oh.
Morris, who had advanced into the extraordinary world in one breath, roared angrily, releasing all the suppression he had been feeling. Clunk. Honk. The red fierce tiger's magic armor sprayed out a lot of visible white steam from its back, and spiral screws were also ejected along with the steam. The black wires started to grow and spread at a terrifying speed, spreading like blood vessels on the shell of the magic armor. This is a sign that the third generation of magic armor is starting to evolve. As the prototype of a tidal machine, each third generation of magic armor hides a terrifying power. However, that power far exceeds the limits of ordinary human beings. So, the Empire's designers sealed this power in order to suppress it. Otherwise, the out-of-control third-generation magic armor would first devour the human driver. The power of the third-generation magic armor is far beyond what it appears to be. It's just that there are not enough drivers available, so they had to seal off the uncontrollable power, allowing the Empire's elite knights to control it. Now, Morris is opening that seal, truly unleashing the power of this 50-ton, third-generation magic armor made with black technology.
Speed.
Strength. Reaction power. Just like the awakened giant Sue, facing Saramanda, who has awakened the power of her ancestors' bloodline, Morris, who was forced into a corner, finally reveals the true form of his third-generation magic armor. Who? Without losing to Saramanda's heavy panting, bloodshot pupils, and the violent aura after removing the binding nails, Morris finally felt the pleasure of surpassing limits. Hero ranked achieved. Moreover, not just an ordinary hero ranked, but together with this red tiger magic armor, they entered the hero ranked field. This is the hidden truth of the third-generation magic armor of the Empire. It possesses the power of giants. Strictly speaking, the third-generation magic armor is the true black technology crystallization, while the previous two generations of military magic armor were all pre-research for the third generation. This generation of magic armor possesses forbidden power. It is the power excavated from the remains of Leviathan, the power of monsters. The combination of technology and mystery, a fantasy beyond human limits. After the glory of the divine era ended and the scholars and alchemical warlocks lost their mage powers, they found another path. The essence of the third-generation magic armor is to turn humans into something other than humans. It is also the prototype of titled machine. Now, Morris seems to understand why only hero-ranked individuals can control titled machines. Because titled machines are made with more terrifying monster cores. His red tiger is now evolving towards the direction of monsters, already bearing his unique mark. For the Empire, perhaps the third-generation magic armor is the incubator for monsters, a prototype made to create more monsters. Even though Morris knew the truth, he didn't regret getting on this strange machine, and probably other elite knights of the Empire felt the same way. For ordinary people, if they want to break their own limits, they must have this kind of determination. Even if they were treated as expendable by the Empire, out of 100 people, only a few could awaken as true third-generation pilots. Yet there were knights who eagerly signed contracts and sat in the third-generation magic armor. Those who chase power cannot resist this tempting demon-like allure. The rank of a hero is a dream and goal that seems unattainable. They don't possess the bloodline of the divine era, so the task of breaking the barrier between ordinary people and hero-ranked individuals is almost impossible to accomplish. After the divine era ended, the number of people with the bloodline of the divine era continuously decreased, making it incredibly difficult for ordinary people to become hero-ranked. In this era of weakened magic tide, it is extremely difficult for hero-ranked individuals to be naturally born. Captain, is this? Level up. The Imperial Knights who discovered the unusual condition of the red magic armor were all shocked. Especially the two other drivers of the third magic armor. Seeing the untied red tiger armor, their eyes were filled with envy and a subtle jealousy that was hard to detect. There are only two conditions in which those restraining nails will be expelled from the body. One is when both the magic armor and the driver determine that the battle has entered a desperate situation and unlock the overclocking state, fully unleashing the hidden power for a life-or-death battle. Once entering this state, the driver's life will begin to count down, using their own flesh and blood to provide the magic armor with its maximum output, engaging in a fierce battle with the enemy. The third-generation magic armor in this state can briefly unleash power beyond the driver's limit, even crushing a normal hero-ranked opponent. The cost is that once entering the state, the driver is undoubtedly doomed unless they can instantly level up to hero-ranked. Every knight who obtains the third-generation magic armor is told that the red button is a direct passage to hell. If they want to engage in overclocked combat, they should open that restrainer and experience death. This is just a simple match. Even if Morris loses, he will never be able to easily activate the overclocking mode. So, there is only one answer left. He surpassed that boundary and gained the power of a true hero. Chapter 1051 We purchased the third-generation magic armor was actually developed as a prototype for title machines, not something for ordinary people to use. In a way, each third-generation magic armor is a body with combat capabilities surpassing those of a normal hero ranked, but it lacks a pilot who can fully utilize its abilities. Even the most outstanding third-tier elite knight among ordinary people can only unleash a fraction of the power of the third-generation magic armor. This body combines mysterious and technological powers, originally prepared as a war weapon for hero-ranked individuals, and even in the Divine Era War, it could be used as a trump card on the battlefield. However, in this era, there aren't enough hero-ranked knights available. When you add up all the hero-ranked individuals on the continent, it's still just a small fraction compared to the number of mass-produced third-generation magic armor. The scholars and alchemical warlocks of the Empire embarrassingly discovered that they may have created the most terrifying war machine in the history of this world, but they can't find enough pilots. There's no choice but to use them since they've been created, so they temporarily added a ceiling system to all the third-generation magic armor. Those restraining nails are the key to ensuring that even ordinary knights can control the third-generation magic armor. As long as they sit in the third-generation magic armor and connect their flesh and blood body to the machine with wires, they are considered a part of the machine and gain about 10% of control. For this era, the third generation of magic armor was an extremely advanced power. Only ordinary people who burn their own life for a few short minutes can truly unlock the true face of the magic armor. That was the real mysterious field, the core of black technology, the power close to the origin of this world. Only true hero-ranked individuals are qualified to have complete control over the third generation of magic armor and become true magic armored knights. At this moment, Morris has gained the approval of this magic armor and truly become a knight of the new era. During the Divine Era, knights rode warhorses with Divine Era bloodline and achieved humanity's glory on the battlefield. Knights of the new era now ride magic armor with higher mysteries, merging themselves with this war equipment made of steel and stepping towards a higher field. The world recognized Morris' power, even if it came at the cost of sacrificing oneself and obtaining power from the indescribable abyss. Accept the judgment. Morris released the bindings of the magic armor, and his gaze towards his opponent became proud. The him now and the him from just now are no longer people of the same world. The most wonderful future. A machine that belongs to oneself with a special title. Even the princess of the Empire is no longer out of reach. He has obtained the power to change his own destiny. That must be the smell of a giant. It feels like the scent of giants that have long been dead. The foul smell of a corpse. Humans really dare to use anything. As followers of Leviathan, the mermaids and Lamia girls could smell the scent leaking from the magic armor. It is not a power that humans possess themselves. Rather, it is a certain flesh and blood scent that has been distorted and contaminated. The giants, who lived long ago, were a powerful race that fought against dragons for control of the world. They were strong beings that came from the earth and were the only species in the Leviathan faction that posed a threat to the dragons. The current troll clan is said to have some giant blood, which is why they have such terrifying bodies and pseudo-immortality. However, even before the Divine Era began, all the giants were wiped out by the dragon race. The dragons, being the rulers of the world, didn't allow any other species to threaten their throne. The third-generation magic armor used by the Empire is seen as a greatly inferior version of the Giants in the eyes of the girls from the Leviathan faction. From the moment all the binding nails on Morris's body were released, that smell could no longer be hidden. Although it is an inferior version, now that the dragons have completely disappeared, this degraded version of a giant is still powerful enough. Big sister, be careful. That smell is really unpleasant. Humans, they smell so bad. The other orc girls cheered for Sarmanda. As true descendants of giants, they weren't afraid of that fake giant. Degenerate. You know nothing about real power. Morris pulled out a heavy steam spear from behind. His face, now made of fused steel, showed a fierce expression. That's right. The essence of the magic armor is to imitate the terrifying race that once existed on this land, which could rival the dragon race in a sense. However, if you think the magic armor is just a degraded version of a giant, you are completely wrong. This steel body is a war weapon more terrifying than the living giants. Hiss! A lot of white steam sprayed out from the back of the blazing steam spear, instantly shot out by Morris. 1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots. 4 shots, 5 shots, 6 shots. 6 heavy steam spears were fired consecutively, completely blocking all of Saramanda's escape space. This is the true power of the overclocked ferocious magic armor.
Ding, ding, ding.
Fearlessly swinging her giant axe, Saramanda deflected each heavy steam spear that was shot at her. Feel the true power of the magic armor. The deflected heavy steam spears didn't fall down like the 2 that were sliced earlier. Instead, they spun in the air and quickly repositioned themselves for a second round of attack on Saramanda. How is this possible? Steam spears don't have that kind of power. This is the true power of the third-generation armor. 2 knights from the Imperial Envoy team, who were the 3rd generation of magic armor, stared at the flying steam spears with passionate eyes. Normal steam spears are usually disposable, as they lose power and need to be retrieved after being shot. Only knights who have unlocked the core power of the 3rd generation of magic armor can use these steam spears as strategic weapons, giving them extraordinary power. This kind of power is beyond the control of ordinary people, unless they are willing to sacrifice their own lives. At this moment, Morris is demonstrating the abilities that all drivers of the 3rd generation of magic armor dream of. Just imagine the intimidating power of a magic armor on the battlefield, tearing through the enemy's front line with a large number of heavy steam spears used as regular weapons. Even against ogres, who are known as the elite ground troops of the Divine Era, it would be an overwhelming and absolute advantage. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.